Okay, hold on. I'm going to go back out and come back in quickly.
Okay, I'll play the video.
Okay.
Hey everybody, welcome to Between the Pipes. My name's Dan, taking over today for Archie. He's under the weather. I'll be joined in a second by Wade, but this is Between the Pipes. And we're back, and we got Wade back here going right now. He had a little bit of technical difficulty, but he's back. How's it going, Wade?
Not too bad, Daniel. It's good to have you on the show, man.
Yep.
Seen the previous episodes with you and Archie. Archie will be missed, but I'm sure he's having a little bit of enjoyment with watching the Leafs right now, and probably coughing away or whatever. He's just not feeling up to it, and he's a little under the weather. But I'm glad to have you here, man. We can talk some hockey and get going with the show still.
Definitely get some different perspectives, since usually we got you two Leafs fans talking. So me being a Flyers fan, I'm happy right now. And then I'm sure after the other day, you guys were happy with a former Flyer showing himself right away in Wayne Simmonds.
Yeah, dude. Well, as Archie knows, and you're about to find out, but I'm a Scarborough boy. So Wayne Simmonds grew up around here, and he grew up in the West Hill Golden Hawks program as well. So that's just down the road for me. I could walk there in about 2 minutes, and I've always been a big fan of Wayne ever since I seen him on the junior team. That was I think Tavares was on that team with Subban and Eberle, and that was a great gold medal team that year. And I've always just had a thing for him. He was in LA, then he went to Philly, and he had the longest part of his career in Philly. But he's a hell of a player, hell of a guy, and for him to come in and kind of set the tone and solidify his spot on the team and his role was a big thing for Leaf fans, to have someone to come in and do what he does, man. And that's not take shit and stand up for the boys. And that's something that the Leafs have been lacking for at least 2-3 years since Matt Martin left the team, right? So Wayne Simmonds, welcome to the Leafs, man. Thanks for that. He almost had a goal there too, just standing in front of the net, one of his dirty goals that he gets. And we're really happy to have him. And just as you're a Flyers fan, he was so much fun to watch on the Flyers too, man. You guys had a few great years with him.
Oh yeah, that's my oldest son's favorite player. He got to actually meet him at one of the Flyers carnivals and got his autograph on his jersey. And then the next year it was his birthday, and then he had like a poster, and he was like, all I want for my birthday is for Wayne Simmonds to throw me a puck. And he actually saw it, came over, threw him a puck, and took a picture with him, which was great. So,
no way.
Oh yeah, and he's a nice guy. Everybody loved him here, and then it sucked that we had to let him go when we let him go. But it's good to see that he's in a program, a team that can actually use him right. Because I thought the past couple of years he was kind of floating around, maybe retired. But I think he'll have a good season for you guys.
Absolutely, man. I totally agree. I thought when he went to Nashville had a really strong team that year. They picked up a couple free agents, including him, and they tried to make a run for the cup, but came up short. And then obviously he goes to the Devils, which I don't think he was too happy going there, because obviously one of the last place teams in the league, and finally catches a break recently and gets signed by the Leafs. And I hope all the best for Wayne, man. I'm excited to see number 24 skating around the Scotiabank Arena. It's good stuff.
Yep. And before we get into the thick of things today, I'm going to play the video for our partnership with Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. Once again, that's Manscaped, 20% off, free shipping. You want to keep that down there looking nice and trimmed so the ladies don't hate you for it. And just go to manscaped.com, use promo code BTP 2020 to get your free shipping plus 20% off. Now we're getting
Yeah,
right into things. We got around the league going on right now with a few news coming out with Evander Kane, Keith Yandel, and Henrik Lundqvist. Before we get into that, is there anything that you want to bring up?
The Keith Yandel situation is just it is what it is. I actually don't know too much about the Keith Yandel situation, so if you want to kind of explain what's going on there a little bit, but Evander Kane, man, it kind of makes sense now why you wanted to try to get that Hollywood or Vegas fight with the Logan brothers, or the Paul brothers there, Jake and Logan. No one knew this guy was 27 million in debt, which is, I mean, everyone has their issues, dude. So I'm not one to judge. You know what they say: more money, more problems. And when you make that kind of money, it could be fast money too, right? So it's money that we'll never ever see, Daniel. But when you have it, you know what I mean. If you don't have the right financial supervisors and people like that in your life, then I mean, whatever you're into, whether it's hot car, whatever, if you're into buying nice cars, or you're into going to the strip club, or you're into gambling a lot, which is kind of the stories that are kind of unfolding for Evander Kane here. Then I mean, what are you going to do, man? The guy signed a contract, and I think it was around $45 million or so. So hopefully he can make that money back eventually, and maybe he'll be a little bit smarter this time around with his financial spending, right?
It's just crazy how some athletes get it and then some don't. Where some guys, you hear all they do is they touch their endorsement money. That's what they do. They touch their endorsement money. They use that for whatever they want to do. And then they save their actual team money that they make from their paychecks. That way they have that money set aside. But then you got other guys, I don't know if it's they're just caught up in the fame, caught up in being a celebrity now that they're a pro. And like, it's just crazy to think that a guy like that could be that much in debt. But like, I can see how it happened, just being starstruck from getting all that fame so soon and so young, because you see all these hockey players nowadays coming out at 18, 19, and 20, when you're so used to seeing them probably at like 22, 23, where they have a little bit of being an adult. So we don't know. I won't try and gauge into it. I just hopefully he can dig out of it and then play well to where he can actually start saving money and get over the zero line.
Yeah, Daniel, he scored a goal the other night for San Jose, which is a good thing too, just based on what's unfolded with him and Surface. So, yeah, I mean, you're going into, I mean, that's that category of young adults getting millions of dollars quickly in life. It can go from hockey, it can go across all sports, like you said. You're nowadays kids' first contracts out of basketball, baseball, hockey. They're signing. Their entry level deals are whatever, a couple $100,000 or $1 million, but then all of a sudden they're 20 years old or 21, and they don't have time to really adult yet, and boom, they get thrown $12 million a year or $10 million a year, and it's just like, what do you do with this money? Goes across celebrities. It goes to anybody that comes with that type of role in life, right? You got to be able to understand it, and like you said, we can't really get into it, because if you were to throw, I mean, now that I'm 28 years old, I think I would have a little bit more of an understanding of what I would do financially with my money, and where I would put it and keep it, but and how I would spend it. But obviously, some people, it's just different, man, and you can't really. I mean, it's easy to point fingers and laugh and say, "Oh, how do you do that?" But hey, man, you weren't in his shoes, so you don't really understand it the way he did, and you never know how someone's brought up in life, and what their passions and hobbies and stuff are outside of what their career is, or however they got that money. So it is what it is, Daniel. Right? It is sad. I
Yeah.
hope he, like you said, I hope he gets back on his feet, and I mean, I guess on his skates, and plays hard for San Jose, and turns a corner for the better in a positive way.
Yep. And now we're going to move on to Keith Yandel. It just came out that his Ironman streak is looking to end, and apparently the word on around the league is that the management is seeing a different light with him. They're probably going to move on from him. I think they have a different mindset of what the team is going to be like. I have a feeling that they're going to move a little bit younger, and then it'll be interesting to see how they're going to handle the situation, whether he's just going to sit there on the bench or if they're going to try and get rid of him right away and see where he's going to go. Where do you think he would fit if they decide to get rid of him?
Man, Keith Yandel, outside of who, like Patrick Marleau, I mean, they had those were the Iron Man streak gods of hockey in the last decade, right? I mean, I think Keith Yandel was. I mean, Florida hasn't played a game yet, but he was sitting. I think the number is crazy. It's like over 800 games, consecutive games, right? So it's crappy, but I mean, Keith Yandel's been in the league a long time, man, and. What are you going to do, man? Sometimes I don't really know how old he is, but I know he's got to be about at least above 37 or 38, 39 maybe. And Florida's looking for a whole refreshed look. I mean, outside of their main core with like Barkov and Huberdeau, I mean, they even moved on from Dadonov this year, which was kind of I couldn't believe they gave up Dadonov because he was their third best scorer, right? And they had didn't they have Hoffman there this year too, and now he's gone. So I don't really know what and they're banking on Bobrovsky to have a bounce back year this year after he put up pretty crappy numbers last year and doesn't look like a $10 million goalie. So they're trying something new. Obviously, in the training camp, Keith Yandel maybe doesn't look fit to play. Or maybe he's just sick and tired. Who knows really what's going on behind the scenes. But you asked where I think he would go. I mean, that's what happens, Daniel, with these guys that are over 36, 37, that are either chasing a Stanley Cup or they just want to be in a leadership role. So depending on which one of those two options he's looking for, obviously the main one is go for a Stanley Cup. But then a Stanley Cup team is going to want you to come over. So, I mean, you're going to play a sixth defenseman on a Stanley Cup team or even a seventh defenseman and be a little bit of a bench warmer or an injury call-up guy. I don't know. But Keith Yandel's been in the league a long time. He's been a fantastic player in the league. And either one of the top four teams, like your other or top six teams will pick him up, or a younger team up and coming will say, listen, we want this guy to mentor our young guys and show them what it's like to be a professional athlete and know the business and stuff like that, right? So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, we got chiming in from the Buzz saying Yandel's 34 years old and it's 866 game streak going. So there's that.
34 years old, young still, dude.
Yep. And then there's a couple teams that I could see. I could actually see him going back to the Coyotes just because I feel like they're a team in flux. They got a lot of young talent, but I could see them bringing him back, seeing that he would be a cheap option because last year they made the playoffs and they did pretty decent. Like we didn't expect them to go far, but they still, I believe they won one series and then lost the next one. So he could be a guy that you could just plug in there for like a year and see how he helps out. But I also could see the Jets, Winnipeg Jets, because they could use a little bit of offense on that team. We'll get into the Jets in a second because of their defense and how they looked. But I could see them bringing him in just because he's cheap, in my opinion. After, depending on the trade and whatnot. But we got the Buzz chiming in. The problem is he also has 3 seasons remaining at a $6.35 million cap hit on the 7-year, $44.5 million deal he signed with the Panthers in 2016. Yeah, I could see that side of it. But I see teams, though, that it's definitely going to be a playoff team that's going to look for him because they won't care too much about the money if they get some production out of him, because they're going to look for that either extra piece to make him bona fide playoff team, or a piece that'll be like, okay, he's the final piece of the puzzle. Like, we have this, and this. We might just need like a veteran in the locker room that can help bring things together because of his age and then how many games he's played. So I see that.
Yeah.
Yep. And then now we're going to move on. We got Henrik Lundqvist. He just got out of the hospital. I believe it was today. And it was the first time he's seen his family since he had the surgery, which was heartfelt. To me, it was heartfelt situation, seeing the picture of him staying there with his family after something so sudden to that. He had signed that deal, and then all of a sudden you see him say he needs surgery and that he was going to be out of the league this year, which is crazy considering that it looked like he only had 1 or 2 years left. I wanted to get your opinion on that.
Obviously, because of COVID protocol and safety awareness with COVID, his family wasn't allowed in the hospital. So, I mean, that's really tough, man. A heart surgery isn't anything light. And it's one of the, I mean, a heart and a brain surgery are probably the craziest surgeries you can have on the human body. So considering that, and then not seeing his family, that's really tough on. I mean, it's really nice that he got to finally see his family.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's heartwarming. And I mean, I feel for Henrik, man. I've never had a problem with Henrik. You know, some goalies you hate in the league, as you know, just as a rival goalie. But he's been a goalie that you've really respected in the league for a long time. He hasn't really had a fiery moment. He doesn't really lose his cool. He's got his like fashion thing. You know, he seems like a really nice guy. And when players talk about the King, usually they say really, really good, positive things about him, right? So he's a really good guy, a good family guy. And it just really sucks, man, because obviously this guy still loves hockey. He's passionate about hockey. He wants to play. And he thought he was going to maybe get, I don't know, maybe 20 starts or something this season behind Samsonov on the Caps. And unfortunately, this came about. And I'm just glad that he's okay now and he can heal up. And who knows, maybe we see the King back next year.
Maybe.
And he's ready to go. But as for now, take it easy. I hope he just takes it easy. He's got to rest. And he's got to go to physio, get his body back in shape eventually when the scar tissue and everything all heals up. And that's it. I'm just happy that the surgery went well, and we'll hopefully see the King back in goalie gear sooner than later.
Yeah, I got to see a lot of him being a Flyers fan, and then him being on the Rangers, and then on top of that, my coach now was his coach for a good 6-7 years, Alain Vigneault. And when he had all of his like very good seasons, he took a lot of shots there, and then he was able to block them all for the most part. Those teams just missed like the defense. That's what those teams missed, because a lot of people know that with Alain Vigneault, he's all about offense and then a very good goalie. He kind of doesn't worry about the defense too much because he trusts his goalie a little bit more than others would. So it kind of sucked that he didn't have that defense there. Maybe he would have won a cup, and then he would have been less worn out because he wasn't taking so many shots. But for him to be able to play that well for that long in a style like that was crazy. Like you said, he has the nickname the King for a reason because of how he was in New York, of all places, where you got to have thick skin. And then I thought it was really cool, like a little thing to find out about him, how he liked to play rock music, that he was in a band. And like I remember watching them do like the Winter Classic, and then they had like the build up to it for like a few episodes, and then it was them and the Flyers, and they would show him go up to his loft in New York. I think this was before he was married. It would show him just like jamming out, and I'm like, oh, this guy's pretty cool. Like if he wasn't on the Rangers, I'd be all about this guy because he just seems so laid back, focused on hockey, focused on music. And then I feel like that's how he got into the groove for hockey, that he was just playing music and
Yeah.
it kept his mind fresh. And I could see him like if nothing goes wrong after surgery and after healing and everything, I could see him back in the league next year. Like you said, I could see him in there maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, all
Yeah.
depending. But I see at most 1 year. Like I could see him do 1 year just so he can play that year. And then I don't know how that works out with the Capitals, whether because I think the deal was only 1 year, or was it 2 years?
You know what, man? I, it was either 1 or 2 years. It was
Yeah,
it was a minimum deal, so could have been just 1 year, but I don't know. But anyways, it's yeah, like you said, New York embraced this guy, right? So I hope he plays one more year. It'd be a nice comeback
yeah,
story. Even if he came back and played just one more game or something, and then hung the skates, just depending on what happens with the healing process of him and everything. But yeah, I hope that we see the King back, man. That would be really good.
it was. Archie said it was a 1 year deal. That's what
Yeah.
I thought. So I don't know how that works out because he basically was out due to this injury. I don't know if it would just carry over to the next year or
No, I think it's Daniel. I think that because it's an injury, I think it's he gets paid for the contract, and then that's it, right? He'll get the money
okay.
still, but I mean, I don't know how it works when they pay
Yeah,
injury pay. Like they might, it might prolong the pay period now because he's not playing games. But I think that he's going to have to look for a new contract if he wants to come back for next season or the season
yeah.
after or whatever he wants to do, right?
I
Unfortunately, but
yeah.
at least he's getting paid, and at least the guy is getting healthier, and he got what he needed to get done, right?
Yep.
So that's the main part. Health, life is way more important than hockey all the time, and it would be nice to see him back in gear, but if he were to retire right now, he's always going to be known as the King of New York, man. So
And then he said he believes the money gets paid out and his contract gets buried in LTIR, which I could see that. But you read my mind with that. Like all that matters is his health and being able to live. Hockey can come second. I do see somebody taking him on as like a backup goalie just to like
yeah,
play here and there. Maybe a team that has a goalie set there that they want to use most of the time, and then you just bring him in for once every like 5-6 games to give the starter rest. And I think he would do that too. I think he would just want to play one more season, even as a backup, and then just be able to say that he was able to go out on his own terms instead of having to go out because of this.
absolutely, man. No, I 100% I agree.
Yep. But now that we're done with a little bit of that around the league, now we're going to go into the main part. Hockey is back. We got it back finally. It took a little bit longer than expected, but they got the season started the other day. And the first game that we're going to get up to is the first one that started, which was the Flyers and Penguins. It had a very weird 5 o'clock start time. I don't know why they
Yep.
did that. It was weird. It was weird. I like in my brain, I was like, it's going to be 7 o'clock. And then I actually missed a little bit of it because I thought it was 7. And then I go look and I'm like, geez, it's in the second period already. They must have started early. But you had the Flyers beat the Penguins 6-3. You had Joel Farabee who had 1 goal, 3 assists. And then you had Patrick had a goal, and Lindholm had a goal, which was nice with everything that he went through last year.
Yep.
And then for the Pittsburgh Penguins, you had Sidney Crosby had a goal, of course. What did you take away from this game?
So I watched a little bit of that game, obviously. It was the first game of the season. I like how the ref kind of introduced the NHL is back on the first drop of the puck.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I thought both teams looked. I mean, they didn't look too sloppy. They looked like they kind of jumped right into game form, and it was competitive hockey. You mentioned Farabee. I heard Farabee's name all over the TV broadcast. I was like, shit, man, this guy's all over the ice. Like he's having himself a game. And this was before I even knew he had all the points. Like all I hear is Farabee, Farabee, Farabee. So I don't know much about the kid, but obviously he started out the season really well. Voracek looked the same to me. Giroux looked the same to me. These guys are going to put up their points. They're point per game guys. Giroux's gonna be Giroux. He's the captain, and Voracek is the assist machine. So he has those magical friggin' mitts, equivalent to like a Mitch Marner on the Leafs. And I was telling Archie before, Daniel, I didn't know Voracek was as young as he is. I always thought he was like 35. All of a sudden, I hear he's like still 30. I'm like, what the heck? This guy's still got a lot of time left in the league. And I think Nolan Patrick scoring the goal really boosts his confidence. I was watching him skate around. He looked like he had a quarantine type of off season. He just kind of looked a little bit lackadaisical on the ice, kind of going through the motions. But hey, man, you pick up a goal, and the Flyers obviously lucked out by picking him up. And I think he was the 4th overall for you guys a few years ago, which was huge because you guys were supposed to pick 11th or 12th or something, and you guys won that lottery. So that was cool. He was the second.
He was
huge, right? So if this kid starts lighting it up a little bit, that's really going to work out for the Flyers because they already have their core there that's been there for a while, and the depth is there. You got Carter Hart in net. Gustafsson on the back end looked friggin' awesome, man. He was really playing a great offensive game, so he was fun to watch. Flyers look good. Flyers are going to be a good team this year, bud. They're a team to look out. I think a lot of people have them kind of as the sneaky snake in the grass that could come up and bite any of these top 4 teams that are supposed to win Stanley Cups this year. I think Flyers are just right there with them, man. And outside of the Flyers, really good game there. I thought Sidney Crosby does Sidney Crosby things all the time. His goal was I watched it live, man. It took me a second to kind of understand what the hell he just did. And hand-eye coordination, Carter Hart thought he had that puck out. He elevated the puck 2 feet. Crosby comes in, smacks it down. It was bounced off the ground once, and Crosby reached back with a backhand and put it in the net with 2 guys just about on him. And Carter Hart just getting back in the net. But that's such a Sidney Crosby style goal to me, right? Like he does that kind of weird stuff all the time that it's like no one else in the league can do what he does, but it's just so he slows the game down in such a way, he makes it look kind of simple. You know what I mean? Almost like it's like shinny. So it's really good to see him. I thought Malkin looked really good, Daniel. Crosby and Malkin are like 35 years old now, right? So this is their 15th or 16th seasons as Pittsburgh Penguins, and I thought Malkin looked like the step quicker than last year. Like he was carrying the puck around, getting the puck deep, and I like Evgeny Malkin because he's a feisty bastard, right? Like he doesn't take shit. I mean, once in a while he'll do a back swing and swing for the fences if someone pisses him off, and he gets caught for penalties and stuff once in a while. A little bit of a hothead he could be, but man, Crosby, never count Pittsburgh out when they have Crosby and Malkin, and if Tristan Jarry keeps them in there and Letang has himself a season, and Gensel was playing really well last year. He almost took a little spill in the corner. I think Pittsburgh fans were a little worried about that, but got up, started playing, and I think Flyers are definitely a better team than Pittsburgh, but you can never count the Pittsburgh Penguins out. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the game? You're a Flyers fan. I'll let you go here, bud.
No, I agree with you. When it comes to playoffs, the Flyers just need a guy that they can go to, because that's what they missed last year against the Ironers. You had guys that you had too much of a team effort where they were scoring goals, but you didn't have that go-to guy that when you're down or when you needed a goal, you could count on that guy, just like the Penguins have Crosby. You can count on him to get his stuff, and then Malkin is the guy behind him. We didn't really have that, because I feel like a running thing in Philadelphia has been Giroux always plays great in the regular season, and then you get into the playoffs, and then he kind of disappears. And we get mad about him. And then a couple of years ago, he had that thing where he was like, get mad at the fans, like coming at him for not playing. And it's like, in 3 seasons, he has, I think, a total of like 7 points in the postseason, and he's getting
Yeah.
paid all that money. So, but I think Joel Therapy can be that guy that can turn into it. He's 20 years old. We got him in that trade for Braden Shen. We got him and Frost. Coincidentally, Frost is the guy in camp that was battling Patrick for the last spot. They were battling each other each day for the spot. They gave it to Patrick. They said the last couple days, and then the orange and white game, that he nearly beat out Frost, but they wanted to give Frost a little bit more time because he's still young. And Patrick had that time the first year that he played, so they put him on the third or fourth line. I like how they did the lines this year. I think Therapy's with Drew and Voracek now, but they like to switch things up every couple shifts. So he's on the line with that. They split Couturier up from them. I forget who Couturier's with, but that one, the first line, lit it up the first game between Voracek, Drew, and Farabee, and then you got.
I think
Farabee
Kevin Hayes is on Couturier's line.
I think it's them two, and I think it's Lindholm. I think Lindholm might be on the line with them. So
Couturier, man, what a player that guy's come into in the last few years, man. You know, he's another stud on that team that's gonna help them get to where they need to get to, man. So
I thought the first couple of years on the team, he got, I wouldn't say buried, but the problem with him was they relied on him too much to be the top defensive forward, guarding the top guy on the other team, that they didn't use him offensively. And then the past couple of years, they've kind of let that off and let him play more offensively. And that's why he's up there on the team and leading usually goals, and then up there in points, because he's the guy that you can go to. And I thought he was going to have a good postseason last year, and then he wound up not. Like, I think he had a goal or two in the first round, but then he kind of disappeared in the next round. So it'll be nice to see him pick that up from that point and maybe be the guy if Farabee can't be the guy, because I really like him. He's one of my favorite players. He plays through all of his injuries. He's a tough guy. He has teeth missing, of course. I think he had 2 teeth knocked out in one of the games last year, and then he came back, I think, a period later. But then you get to the Penguins. I'm not going to sleep on the Penguins right now. They had a lot of transactions in the offseason, and I feel like with the COVID and everything, they didn't get a chance to gel. You did have like the 2-week training camp period, but I'll give them like a month before you actually see the real Penguins, before you see them gelling and see them at their highest point. I think it's going to take them time with all the moves they made. They got Jerry in goal right now. He looked a little off, of course, giving up 6 goals. But I see them still make the playoffs this year. But it's going to take them a month to get things going compared to the other teams where they had all the big pieces already there. Like the Flyers, they didn't really make too many big moves because the majority of the roster was already there. They had Carter Hart there. Elliott came back, but he's the backup, so you don't have to worry about that. Like basically 90% of the roster came back, so they already know how to play with each other. Compared to Pittsburgh, I think half the team got gutted and then replaced. So it'll be interesting to see how they do later in the season when they've had time to gel with each other. But to move from that,
I agree, bud.
But to move from that to a game you probably were happy about, you got the Leafs beating the Canadians 5-4. You had your guy William Nylander with 2 goals, 1 assist. Frederik Andersen with the shocking assist, and then Wayne Simmons 1-0 in fights. And I think there was a point Archie told me earlier that you had no fights last year on the team or something like that. And then you get Simmons, and then he gets in the fight right away and then makes a statement for you guys.
So I think it was, I think the statistic came up, and it was I think it took 45 games. We had 2 fights in 45 of our first 45 games last year. And then obviously Simmons comes in, drops the gloves with Sherratt, and like I said, he solidifies his place on the team and who he is and the player and his role. And we need a guy like that who can sit in front of the net, stand in front of the net, take a little bit of punishment, give a little bit of punishment, and stick up for the boys, man, when things go bad or people are clowning around. So Wayne Simmons was a huge pickup, and he almost had a little chip in goal there in front of the net. So it would have been nice for him to get his first one as a Leaf right there, but yeah, it's nice, and I mean, I think he only landed about 3 or 4 of those punches, but he did win the fight at the end of it. So it was a quick fight, but it was something that the Leafs needed. And William Nylander, man, I mean, William Nylander is kind of the he's like the dark horse of the Leafs right now for their star players, right? It's been Tavares, Matthews, and Marner for the last few years, right? And Nylander gets caught up in the background a little bit, and he makes the noise once in a while. I think his best statistic was his zone entry was something crazy, like 80% or something, that he carries the puck in and he starts the cycle up. But other than that, he was lacking on a few different statistics. Obviously, people, if you're going to pay a player $7 million, you should be scoring about 25 or 30 goals consistently a year. And then he had that little falling out with management before he got signed. He held off for a few months or until December until he finally got that deal. But that being said, William Nylander looked really good. He got through, I think it was 3 points. He had the 2 goals and an assist on Jimmy Vesey's goal. It was nice for Jimmy Vesey to get his first goal because he kind of looked a little bit he looked like he was trying to find his way out there. He looked a little lost, and then all of a sudden, boom, he puts one in, a little bounce off the ref there behind the net for Nylander, and it's in the back of the net. But Nylander's shot is lethal, man. It's one of the better shots in the league, and he gets it off quickly. Like, if you could tell. And even in the blue and white scrimmage game, man, he took a clapper from there, a one-timer, and it just went top shelf. And the one thing I like about William Nylander, and this is something that a lot of people, I don't know if they realized it, Daniel, but William Nylander does not take one-timers in the last 3 or 4 years. Since he's been on the Leafs, he grabs the puck, he takes a couple stick handles, he looks around, he looks at the net, and he really aims where he's going to take the shot. All of a sudden, his first goal, he walks into a one-timer from the point, which he never does. So he's scoring different ways now. He's seeing the ice. He's feeling a little bit more comfortable and confident in himself, I think. And that's what goal scorers do, man. They find open spots and they shoot from different places and it goes in. And I thought it was a really nice way to start the game for him, scoring that goal. And then obviously not even looking at the goalie, kind of looking for to feed the puck through. Carey Price had no idea. And just a laser beam, top shelf. I mean, it was in and out of the net before Carey Price even had the reflexes to raise the glove. So William Nylander, man, he scored 32 goals last year in the 72 games that was played. And who knows, he could have hit the 35 or 40 mark. And he's a player you got to watch out for now, man. That's just another weapon in the closet for the Leafs. Overall, I thought the Leafs played well, dude. They were a little bit sloppy the first period. Montreal really gave it to us. I thought that they played really hard. Nick Suzuki dangling around. He looks really good, and he carried off from playoffs last year. He looked really good in playoffs last year, man. I mean, this kid can play. He kind of reminds me, and not that Matt Barzal is old or something, but he reminds me of kind of like a younger Barzal. Yeah. Just the way he moves with the puck, and his hands are really soft, man. He can go in tight. He's got little dirty dangles, and he showed that yesterday. Josh Anderson, big acquisition, Max Domi trade, and he comes in and he scores 2 friggin' nice goals yesterday, driving the net. Hard to get the puck off, goes right around Tavares, scores a heavy power forward goal. And then off the face-off, they win it, gets a pass back from whoever gave him that pass there, and he just rifles one right in. So what a good start for Josh Anderson, and I'm sure that Habs fans are definitely in love with that acquisition over the that trade anyway. And then Max Domi sat the last 6 minutes of the Columbus game yesterday, so already a little bit of feud happening with him and Tortorella. And outside of all that, I thought the Habs played a really good game, man. And Carey Price, I mean, didn't have the greatest game, obviously letting in 5. That's not usual for him, but the Habs are someone that you got to look out for in this Canadian division, buddy. They have Petrie and Weber in the back. Carey Price is still in net. And then you have, Suzuki, Gallagher, Deneau, Josh Anderson.
Tatar.
And you have a couple of those guys there that can really make a difference. And the thing about the Habs, they always play hard and they buy into whatever system that they're in. And they're always a hard team to beat. They make playoffs most years, even when their team is under the radar and you don't really hear much about them. I don't know how they do it, but they just have consistency in winning, man. So, yeah, dude, the Habs played well, and that's all I got to say about that one, man. Go Leafs, go! But I really like what the Habs did, man. The Habs are going to be a threat this year, and I really hope, Daniel, I really, 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 really hope that Pierre-Luc Dubois doesn't go to the Habs, man. I know the Habs would have to give up a couple guys to get him, but if you have Deneau, Suzuki, and Pierre-Luc Dubois as your 3 centers down the middle, that the dynamic of that team changes immediately, because Pierre-Luc Dubois is a good friggin' player, man. 3rd overall in 2016 after Matthews Laine, and Columbus has raised him, and they've turned him into a beast, and that's why Tortorella and that organization is pretty upset right now with his remarks and wanting a trade out and not really giving the reason why. So, and apparently, you know how Montreal Canadian fans love their own Pierre-Luc Dubois going down the ice. He'd fit right in. Yep. And I really don't want to see another 9 games against a Habs team with him, even though I love the competition and I want to face the best team possible every given night, because that's how you win championships. It still scares me, man, because he was a Leaf killer for Columbus when they eliminated us out of that qualifying round. But that's all I got to say about that, and I'll let you have your take on it if you've seen any of that game.
It's crazy to think that Vegas traded away Nick Suzuki. I think it was him and Thomas Tatar just for Max Pacioretty. And then you see the player that Suzuki is, it's like you could have got that production that you thought Max was going to do. You could have got it out of Suzuki, and Suzuki is only 21 years old. He's young. Yep. So they got 2 pieces. And I think Tatar is still producing for Montreal. I think he's still on the team. And
scored a goal. He scored a goal against us the other night. I think he had the 1st or 2nd goal there. So Tatar, hey man, the Habs love that guy, man. He has one of the better nicknames in the league. I think they're Thomas Tata or whatever, right? So hey Tata, that's what they say in Habland. But hey, he's still a good player. I still remember Thomas Tatar on Detroit there, and he was supposed to be their up and coming guy, and he's moved around a little bit, but the guy can play, man. He's a top 6 forward, so he's dangerous.
But I know Suzuki was drafted in the 1st round by Vegas, and then he came over. I got to see him firsthand in the playoffs against the Flyers, and all he did was he was always around the puck, really fast, really young. They always had him out there. Like, they apparently didn't use him that much during the season, and then they got into the playoffs, and all of a sudden you got to see him like 15 to 20 minutes a game, and it's like, where did this guy come from? And then I looked into it, and I was like, okay, he came in the Max trade with Vegas, and I'm like, they got rid of this guy just for Max Pacioretty. I know he was really good, but you got a stud right here, and Montreal just robbed you of him, and then they get him for cheaper right now because Vegas took over Max's contract while Suzuki's on his rookie deal because he's only been in the league for maybe 2 years at age 21. So they beat out in that, and then just like you said, with the other trade, he had a couple goals for them. And they're looking nice and young with a veteran goalie. That's not a good sign. And then if they're able to get Pierre-Luc Dubois, that would be even worse. And like, I knew something was up when they didn't make a deal for a while, And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden he took like a 2-year deal that looked like it was cheap. And I was like, there has to be something more to it. And then the reports came out that he was looking to possibly be traded. So it's like, is there something wrong with the culture there? Or guys getting tired of Tortorella there? You know how he can be, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like he's always been like that, and his teams there are making the playoffs. So it's like, is it that bad to where you can't handle making the playoffs on a team that'll be strict, or do you want to go elsewhere and feel like you're not being tortured, as some people say that he is, because he's a high spoken guy. He's very strict. He wants to get the most out of his players, but all of his teams win. So it's like,
Yeah.
do you want to go elsewhere and possibly lose, or do you want to stay there and deal with it but win, because that's what his teams do? So we don't know what is going on there, because other than just saying he wants to get traded, he hasn't said much, and I'm sure that soon we'll probably hear about it, because I don't think it's going to be a thing that lingers all season long. It's either they're going to come to an agreement about something, or it's going to be put out there that he wants to be traded and he's going to stay by it, and maybe they have to sit him if he's going to be a distraction, and then try and trade him ASAP, which any team will take him with how he played last year. Like, firsthand, he had a pretty good series against you guys.
Yeah.
So it'll be remain to be seen. I hope that Montreal doesn't get him. And
yeah, for our sake, you know what, Daniel, before we move on, I just want to say, Columbus, Ohio, dude. So look at Columbus Blue Jackets. Free agency came around. Who are they dying to sign? Putting up billboards. They wanted Bobrovsky to stay. They wanted Panarin to stay. They had Artemi Panarin, and he had a great season there. They love the hockey culture in Columbus, and I'm going to tell you right now, you live in the States.
yeah,
And but I hear I'm a Toronto guy, but I hear rumblings around just from people that going to Columbus, so going to Ohio is just like there's nothing to do there.
no.
Like I heard that it's a pretty boring place, and maybe this is the reason why hockey players don't really want to go there, man. Just there, it's not a really an appealing place to go play hockey. They want a bigger city. They want bigger fan base. And Columbus is kind of, I don't know, man. Like they've been trying so hard in the last few years to get this team to come together, and you can tell that the core group is there, like your Atkinson and your Werenski, and they have Seth Jones there now, and they're still finding ways to win games, like you said. And the winning culture is there. Foligno, Dubinsky. I mean, he's injury prone and he's IL right now, but they have a good culture there. But at the end of the day, man, I really do think it's actually just Columbus, Ohio itself, man. I just think people don't like hockey players just aren't appealed to. They don't find the place appealing or attractive to go play hockey. So it is what it is. But what are you going to do, man? You go to a team that you think is going to win a Stanley Cup, and just think of how dangerous Columbus would be, man, if they still had Bobrovsky before he went to Florida and kind of shit the bed last year. But imagine they still had a consistent Bobrovsky, Panarin there, Dubois, with Seth Jones and Werenski and their supporting cast that they have, man. I mean, it would be, and Josh Anderson before this trade. I mean, they would be making runs, man, and they would be a scary team. So the only other player that stuck there for the longest time was Rick Nash, man. He got drafted there. Rick Nash was their star, and then eventually Rick Nash even tried his hardest to, get people to come there and play with him, man. And no one wanted to come as free agents to Columbus. So finally, Rick Nash went to the Rangers there like 7 years ago or whenever the hell that was. But it is what it is. But Columbus, Dubois, it's just not working out. He's not giving a reason. I don't know if it's Torts may be a hard coach to play for, but he's also a coach that really cares about his team and his players from my perspective of the guy. and it's a winning culture. So, I mean, what are you going to do? I would like to see Pierre-Luc Dubois stay there, but as soon as you talk to management and say you want out, I mean, then the cat's out of the bag, bud. And the teammates, your locker room now, your dressing room, your fan base is in turmoil, and everyone's a little bit edgy and upset. So whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and it's going to unfold probably in the next week. I would think, because you want to get this guy to the team and start building chemistry with whoever he's going to go to. And who knows, Daniel, maybe Columbus gets some good players back for this, man. And maybe they're happy with getting rid of Dubois, and the trade works out better for Columbus in the long run. Who knows? But their management's going to be busy in the next week or so for sure.
Yeah, usually it's the other way around. Usually they're the one trading their prospects for players. Like I remember back when in the beginning they traded with the Flyers. They got Jeff Carter from us, and then we got Jacob Voracek, which that's how I knew that he was young. And then we got a pick, which wound up being Sean Couturier.
Yeah.
So we got them two, and now it's the other way around. But like there has to be something, like you said, where you're being in Ohio, because you got all these players. They stay there for a couple of years, they get good, and then they go away somewhere else. They either get traded or they sign elsewhere. So it could be a Tortorella, or it could be just they don't want to be there because there's nothing to do, and the team isn't like a Stanley Cup contender. Like they make the playoffs and then they lose. So it'll remain to be seen. I hope he stays, but hopefully he doesn't go to Montreal.
I hope he just stays out of the Canadian division, but that's all I want.
Yeah, but
they were talking about him and Laine just doing a straight trade, but then look at Laine. I don't know if what the next topic is you want to get into, but it's up to you to start it up, buddy. But just touching on that quickly, they were going to trade Laine for Dubinsky. Well, that was trade rumors, but that obviously I don't think is going to happen now just by the game recently. But let's move on here, buddy. Whatever you want to get to.
Yeah, we got the next one, which is the Blackhawks and the Lightning. The Lightning beat the Blackhawks 5-1. You had Steven Stamkos coming back, and right away gets a goal and 2 assists in his first game back from it being injured most of last year. Then he only got to play 1 game in the Stanley Cup, but he got a goal in 2 minutes. And then he comes in here. He looked a little bit more fresh. It looked like they didn't miss a beat, even though they're going to be without Kucherov all season. How did you take this game, and how do you feel the Lightning are going to be for the rest of the season?
Sucks that Kucherov's not going to be playing this year. It's nice to see Stammer back playing the way he usually does. We're talking about one of the most elite goal scorers in the NHL, and I really like Steven Stamkos as a player and as a hockey personality. He's just really calm and cool, and he's the captain for a reason of that team. They have so many weapons, man. And Kucherov's out, but then you still have Braden Point there. Killorn's always doing good things there for them. Their back end with Hedman and their goalie Vasilevsky. Their core group is still really good. Cirelli.
I like Cirelli. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah. They got a lot of talent there. Palat. The list goes on with these top 6 kind of forwards and these superstars. So here's the thing, man. Tampa Bay faced poor old Chicago Blackhawks their first game, and I just feel bad for Chicago, bud. They're counting on Dylan Strome to be like their savior outside of Patrick Kane right now. Their defense is old, but Keith and Seabrook are still there plucking away. And Kirby Dach gets friggin' injured. He's out for at least another month probably. And it's going to be a horrible start. And then on top of that, you have Alex Nylander, who's one of their other top 6 guys who's supposed to come in and really help with the offense. He's out for the year, broken bone, broke his leg or something like that. And then on top of that, you have Jonathan Toews, Mr. Captain. Captain Canada, we like to call him because he's always been the serious guy.
Yep.
And it just really sucks because Tays had a bounce back year last year. He looked really, really good because the year before people were already talking about him being washed up and stuff. So I'm sure he
Even
took
in the
that.
playoffs, he played great.
I'm sure he took that personally, and the team took that personally, and he had a really good comeback year. And now, and then, dude, Corey Crawford retires, goes to New Jersey. Probably said, "Screw this! I am not playing for this team." And he's gone now. You're using Malcolm Subban in the net, who made a terrific goalie highlight, maybe one of the goalie highlights of the year
What
save
is he?
already in
Yeah.
his first game, even though they lost 5-1. Chicago's going to be in a lot of trouble, dude. That whole team is shaken up. They don't even have Joe Quenneville behind the bench no more. But as soon as I think next year they can still be a problem with a couple upgrades on defense when they come back healthy. They still have DeBrincat there. They still have Dylan Strome there. The couple young guys there that are playing well.
What's his
And
name? Kaborik or
as
something
of
like
this
that?
year, Daniel, it is what it is, man. I think they're in a lot of trouble this year. They could potentially even finish last place in the league, and that's going to be weird to see. They were close to there a couple of years ago, but it's unfortunate what's unfolded for that team because I thought they were going to be looking a little bit more scarier this year, a month ago. So it is what it is. But
yeah, we got Gary chiming in. The Blackhawks suck. He's a
yeah,
Blackhawks fan, so he knows full well what's going on there. I think it's going to be a youth movement. Right now, they're going to get all the young guys time to play with Kane. They got all the injuries, just like you said. I don't think they're going to be that good this year.
yeah,
Maybe we'll see Subban play a little bit good now that he's going to get a lot of time in net, which is about time because I thought he was going to see time in Vegas before Marc-Andre Fleury had a renaissance with his career there, and then
yeah.
he got bounced around afterwards, like for 2 years, and now he's in Chicago, and we'll see where he does there. But I think they're going to be bad. I still think the Lightning are going to be even without Kucherov, they're going to be a title contender with how they are. They got so many weapons. That young kid had a goal, I believe it was. I forget his name. It's not ringing in my head right now. But
On Tampa?
Yeah, Tampa. They had because Palat had a goal, Cirelli had a goal, Stamkos had a goal. I forget who else had a goal, and then this young kid had a goal on the team, and
So another young star probably in the making, right? So
yeah. I'm sure
what
I'm going to
else is
remember
new
it.
for Tampa?
Yeah. I'm sure I'm going to remember it once we go off, but
Yeah.
but they're just pumping out talent as it goes right now, and then with Vasilevsky in goal, you can't get any better than that with that offense. So they're going to be one of the top teams, and I think that's all we need to talk about that because of the game that they
Hedman,
had.
and then quickly, Sergachev signs that friggin' deal. He's making making like $4.5 million a year or whatever, bud.
Yep.
Like, come on. This guy is like a $6 million defenseman at least. He's like 6'4", 6'5", 220, can shoot the puck well, can play PK power play, and you're like Tampa Bay just gets these great deals done, man. Like Kucherov, what's he making? Like 9.5 or something?
He
The
signed
guy
for the
scored.
him and Vasilevsky are signed for the next 7 years. They're locked in
On
right
really like cap friendly deals too,
Yes.
man. You got to hand it to Tampa Bay's management. They really know what they're doing, and I like John Cooper as a coach, but he's definitely one of the better coaches in the league. So they're going to be a threat for the next long while. But their team is still young, and they might have another couple rings going on in the next few years. But hey, man, as a Flyer fan and a Leaf fan, let's put a stop to that and get one of our own, right?
Yeah, they just was it 2 weeks ago they re-signed Cirelli. They re-signed him. They're trying to bring back all the guys that they can. They got him on great team friendly deals. I think this might be one of the last years with Stamkos. I have to look into it, but like they didn't need him and they were going to be good because they won without him last year. I think just having him is going to replace Kucherov a little bit, which helps them. So to me, they're a front runner for to win it again. But
Yeah, Daniel, I think Stammer's actually signed for at least another 2 or 3 years because a year, so 2 years prior to the John Tavares signing, we like the Toronto Maple Leafs were
yeah.
looking at Stamkos and we were hoping he was going to come home,
Oh, that's right. That's
and
right.
he
Yeah.
ended up signing. So we signed Tavares in 2018. So maybe in 2016 he signed probably like a 7-year deal. He's probably signed in until like 2023 at least anyway. So
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
another 3 years, and they have the chance to do damage, man, with that cast of players for sure.
Yeah, but to move on to the next game that we got on here,
Yep.
we got the Canucks and the Oilers. The Canucks won 5-3. We had was it Holtby gets his first win on the Canucks. We had Brock Bozer gets 2 goals, and shockingly, McDavid was held off the scoreboard. Ooh, how did you feel about this game?
Yeah, I watched a bit of that game. Canucks obviously had a really good finish to their season last year. They exceeded expectations with going to the second round of the Cup playoffs, and they looked really well. I mean, Bo Horvat with the wearing the C just kind of elevated everyone, I think, and he turned into a monster for them. You got Pedersen there, you got Besser. The list goes on, man. They got a lot of young talent there, and the Canucks are a well built team, and like you said, Holtby's there now too. So I like the Vancouver Canucks. I think they're going to do good, and to beat the Oilers the way they did, the Oilers still are a weird team to me. Koskinen and Mike Smith are just those are mediocre goalies to me still. Stanley Cup teams need you need your starter. You need a consistent goalie that's going to get you dubs. And Mike Smith and Koskinen, I don't think are that goalie. That being said, they have McDavid and Draisaitl. Nugent Hopkins is a good second line center as well. But I think the Edmonton Oilers, they still have work to do, man. I mean, Larson and Nurse are their top defensemen on the back end, and so that's decent at best, right? Like they're good. And then outside of like Connor McDavid, I mean, we're jumping 2 nights ago, Daniel, but last night, obviously, you know what happened with McDavid. I mean, he had a hat trick, and between him and Draisaitl, 8 points, so they had a big bounce back game. But if those are going to be the only two scoring, bud, I mean, if you get the right guys to shut those guys down somehow, and you run into some good goalies, to me, Edmonton is I still think that they have work to do, and I think they're in a little bit of trouble. So I don't know, man. That game, I didn't get to watch that game because obviously it was a little bit past my bedtime. I watched the first period or so, but I think Vancouver is on its way to a definitely better win a better win percentage than Edmonton this year, and that's a bold statement. I know that Edmonton fans would probably kill me because they have the best player in the league. Arguably, McKinnon could be too. Just putting that out there for anyone, but. That's a good old Canadian matchup there, a Western matchup, and they're going to go head-to-head a lot. So I like the Canucks, though, man. I think they got a good young team with the right veteran cast around them. So I don't know. What do you think? Did you watch any of it?
I caught like the snippets of it on TV afterwards, and I think one of the best moves that they made, which Edmonton last season was splitting up Draisaitl and McDavid. They split them up. They've actually they've put McDavid on the second line, and Draisaitl's on the first line with I think Nugent Hopkins and Yamamoto. Yeah, it's hard saying his name, but
he's a weird name to say.
and then he plays well. He had a good year last year. He got started good the other night, and of course he plays really good. He plays really good right off of Draisaitl. And like you said, we'll get to him about later on from the other night. Not in this game, but in the last game yesterday. But I think the problem with Edmonton is they got a really good first line. Then McDavid's on the second line, so he heightens that up. But after that, they're kind of weak. They're kind of weak there, and then their defense and their goalie situation isn't good. So they're kind of playing heavy on the first two lines to get them a lot of goals to keep them ahead because they know they got to spot themselves like 2-3 goals when they know they're going to give up 2-3 goals.
That's
And
it.
you would have thought in the offseason they would have tried to sign one of these goalies, even if they overpaid somebody, like even like a Holtby or something like that. If they
Matt Murray,
Matt Murray, who went to
Robin
Ottawa.
Lehner, something.
Oh yeah, Robin later. You would have thought they would have overpaid out of the max just to get the guy in goal that they can rely on game to game. Not a situation like this where, just like in the playoffs against the Blackhawks, where they got eliminated, they played hot potato. You had Smith start game one. He got lit up. Then they're like, okay, we'll go to Koskinen now. He got lit up. Okay, we'll go back to Smith. You need a guy that you can rely on, and they didn't have that. And they still don't have that. And I think they're going to wind up not making the playoffs this year because of it. I think they're going to take a step back with everything. Whereas a team like the Canucks, they're going to be more stable.
Well-rounded.
Yes, they're going to be more stable. They got a really decent defenseman core. They got Holtby in goal. I believe they still have Damko back as the backup, I believe. And then I didn't even bring up their forwards like Hovat. They have Bozier. They got Pedersen. And then we didn't talk about him much. They're going to be very well off. They're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to be a sneaky team like they were last year because they might not be in that top four, but they're going to be there and they're going to compete. And then it's going to be a situation where you're going to see him float under the radar, and then towards the end of the season, they're going to go on a hot streak because they having Holtby there and a lot of their young guys, because their team that you thought it was going to take them a little while to gel because they had all these young players, but then they added Miller to that lineup. They added Holtby, even after Damko had a great postseason.
Yeah,
they added a couple of pieces to the puzzle, and then they look solid.
They got better.
Yeah, and like they're exciting too. Like I like to watch the highlights just because like they came out of nowhere. They're a team that drafted well, and then we're able to bring in pieces that fit their core. So it'll be really good to see how they do against those top-notch teams.
Man.
As you know, but I think they make the playoffs. I think the Oilers don't, and then that's where I'm at with that. But
you know what, Daniel? Before we move on, I just want to say Edmonton is going to be one of those teams. They're going to have the narrative of they're going to have to score, 7 goals a game because they're going to let up 4 or 5 goals a game, man. So it's going to be one of those. It's kind of going to be what the Leafs narrative was the last few years without our defensive core, right? We were really relying on Riley and Hainsey. That was our top 2 for 2 years, right? And everyone said, oh yeah, high-powered offense. You're going to score the goals, but how many are you going to let in? Are you going to win every game 6-4 or 7-5? So I totally agree with you, Bud. I think they need work, and Canucks just have a much more well-rounded team, and they've drafted and picked up the free agency. This offseason was really good for the Canucks. And yeah, I can see the Canucks going further than the Oilers as well. I agree with you on that.
We got Sean Pye timing in. Leafs, Ottawa, Edmonton, top 3 Canadian division. Okay.
So that's my brother there. Ottawa is always a scary team because not only are they young and they have these, the Brady Kachucks and the Tim Stutzels now, but they've added in Thomas Chabot is there too, right? And then Matt Murray just went there. So they got a couple other Leafs there, your Zaitsevs, Connor Browns. They play hard. Ottawa is going to play hard, and they have something to prove in this Canadian division. I can't agree with the brother there, though. I still think Ottawa is going to have trouble down the stretch because they just are going to rely too much on these young kids to really move them forward and be consistent goal scorers. And Matt Murray is already, he's a good goalie, but what happened to Fleury? Matt Murray came in, took his spot, but what's happened to Matt Murray now? He's been inconsistent. He's been injury prone, and then Tristan Jarry took him, and Matt Murray's a pretty young guy. So that being said, if the goalie situation doesn't work out for Ottawa, then they're going to be in trouble, and it's going to be hard to rely on these young stars and studs of the team to carry the weight of the Ottawa Senators controversy in the last 3-4 years on their shoulders. So, but everyone has their opinions, right? Who am I? NHL, professional sports are professional sports, man. Anything could happen. All we know, next thing you know, Ottawa somehow racks in 8 wins in a row, and they're a hot team, and Matt Murray's on fire. Who knows, right?
Yep, and I was just about to say this before Archie is trying to steal my thunder. They sure do, up 4-2 against the Leafs right now. So they're looking pretty decent right now. But we're going to move right on to the next game, which was kind of shocking to me. You had the Blues and the Avalanche. The Blues beat the Avalanche 4-1, and Oscar Sundqvist had 2 goals. What did you take away from this game?
So Oscar Sundqvist has been one of those players where the kid has the talent and he can score goals. He just hasn't been consistent with it yet, but you can tell the skill is there. Once he starts gaining his confidence, he's going to be one of those players for the Blues that are really going to come out of nowhere, and you're going to be like, oh my goodness, look at the supporting cast behind the O'Reilly, Tarasenko, who's kind of fallen off a little bit, but it's still Vladimir Tarasenko. And then you just Braden Shen. Their scoring is up there, and now you add in Oscar Sundqvist, who, like you said, scores 2 goals for the season opener and can be. He has the potential, dude, to in a 56 game season, maybe he scores 20 goals or 25 goals. The kid has the talent. St. Louis is a powerhouse team still, man. Pietrangelo is the only one that left off that roster, and they grabbed Torrey Krug from Boston, and Torrey Krug is no pushover.
No.
He's a little bulldog with a lot of skill, man. The guy can shoot the puck as good as anyone from the point. And his hands are really good. He's an opportunistic guy on turnovers, and I just like what Binnington, man. They have him in net there. St. Louis Blues are going to be a tough team to beat, man. And as far as I know, that the reason you were shocked because of this is because Colorado is just unbelievably talented up front everywhere. The only questionable part about their game is Philip Grubauer as the goalie, and even he is a good goalie. He's just not a great goalie, but he's a good goalie that's going to keep him in the games. And but you know what? Those are jitters to me. First game, you can't take a lot away from first games, even the first month of hockey. Like you said before, takes about a month to really understand the flow of a team and who they are in the league, right? And I think Colorado and St. Louis and Vegas are the top 3 teams out of the West. So we were just talking about Vegas and the trades they made with the Pacioretty, but Vegas and Colorado. I mean, look at Colorado's roster right now, man. I was a little bit. I didn't understand why they gave up Zadorov in free agency there, or they traded him or something. But that was kind of weird. They brought in what was it? They brought in the kid from Chicago. Who was it? It wasn't Patrick Sharp. It was the other kid, Brandon Saad.
Yes.
So they took over Saad. They send over Zadorov. That cast was Saad, McKinnon, Landeskog, Rantanen, Nazem Kadri. On the back end, man, you have this kid who's just playing lights out too. Oh man, I'm having a brain fart here now too. But he was the rookie last year, man. Cale Makar. this team is good, man, and they're going to score a lot of goals. They have a bit of defensive depth too, and they have good goaltending. So they're a scary team to face, and St. Louis and them will be going at it all year long, man. So I'm excited to see those matchups. And out of the West, they're definitely my two of my top three favorite teams coming out of the West. What about you? What do you think?
Let's not forget though that last year in the playoffs, Grubauer got hurt, and he basically
Yes, he
missed
did.
the
Frank
yeah.
Kuz
So
went in.
yeah, he went in, played bad, and then Grubauer wound up missing the rest of that series. So
Yeah,
now he's coming back. You only had maybe 2 weeks of training camp after coming back from injury. So you can only imagine that he was going to have some type of ring rust going into net. So like I kind of expected him not to have top notch game for him, but I didn't expect him to lose 4-1. I could have seen them maybe lose 3-2, 2-1, something like that. But for him to give up 4 goals, maybe he needs a week or two to get right into it. Like you said, some players in some situations are going to need a few weeks, especially after coming back from injury like he did really late in the playoffs only a few months ago. So I think it was just a matter of that. I think in time he's gonna get back into the groove. He played great last year. That's why they went with him over Varlamov
yep,
a year ago, and that's why they were the top teams in all of hockey last year. We expected them to go, but that was part of the reason why they didn't make it all the way, was because of that injury that made a big difference on the team. And I think give it a week or two, they're going to be back in form. They got so many weapons that can do good in that spot until he gets to that point. And it's just St. Louis is just one of those teams that are built to match up with them. They got a great young goalie in Binnington. He showed it when they won the cup 2 years ago. It feels like
yep,
forever now, because that's back when they had fans, and which is crazy thinking that. And they
yep.
have a great roster there. They made a little bit of moves, like to get Torrey Krug like that was solid. He brings a new dimension to that team. But these are going to be two teams that you will see come playoff time, because they're built that way. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see them in a 7-game series. So don't be shocked if you see that come playoff time. So they're going to have
That
plenty
would be a
more to play.
great series,
Yeah.
Daniel. That would be a great series, man. It would be two heavy hitting teams with lots of talent going at it. That would be a really cool series to watch in the play. I hope that it would happen in a later round, though, not right away, because
No,
you
yeah.
gotta build up the excitement for that one, right?
Yeah, especially
You gotta have a little bit of suspense going on, waiting for that one to unfold for sure.
especially since we thought we were going to see it last year, and then that didn't happen. And of course, you have that weird matchup in the Western Conference Finals. But all in all, these two teams are going to be threats in the West or East. I don't know how they're doing it this year with how crazy they have it listed standing wise. They never really mentioned it, but these are two teams that are going to be in the playoffs come, was it May, June, with how the schedule is. But to move on from this, we're going to move on to the next one, which I wasn't surprised about. I was just surprised about the score, but you had the Ironers beat the Rangers 4-0. You had Varlamov records first shutout of the 2020-2021 season, and they shut out the Rangers, who have the first game with Lafreniere, which I heard. I have a friend that is a big fan that he actually only played, I think, 10 or 15 minutes of the game, because they're too far into penalty kills half the time that he doesn't play the penalty kill unit. So he had to sit up for quite a bit of time, so that you didn't get to see the full range of him on the ice.
Yeah.
What did you take of this game?
Dude, Matt Barzal looked refreshed. He looked good. I don't think COVID did anything to that guy. Listen, man, the Islanders are a scary, scary team, man. They play hard. I think I was watching. I was watching that game, and I think it was just getting to maybe the second intermission,
Yeah.
and the statistic got brought up by the announcer. He said, "Islanders already have 17 shot blocks." Dude, these guys play like they are just absolute shut down, man. They shut it down, and it's hard to get shots off at these guys. They play with heart. They buy into the system, man. They got a good coach, right? And man, the Islanders are scary, bud. I didn't believe it until, because when they lost to Tavares, I thought, okay, they're going to take a step back. And they lost to Tavares, and they had an unbelievable season the year without Tavares, and it's just been carried over until now. And they just have a hard hitting team, man. They all from line 1 to line 4. Their forward and defensive depth is unreal, right? And they're a scary team. They have what? Varlamov is their goalie, I think,
Yes.
and he's a good goalie. He's got some years under his belt, and I mean, you still have that like Matt Martin, Clutterbuck, and Cizikas line or whatever that just come out and brutally tear down like first and second lines, man. They clog up the neutral zone. No teams can just easily gain the zone and start cycling against these guys. They're a defensive machine, man. Like they're defensive magicians, and I think the Islanders could definitely do damage. They're not the flashiest of teams. Obviously, their number one star would be Barzal, and then you add in like a Jordan Eberle a little bit to that. But man, they are for real. Like, watch out for the Islanders. That being said, I thought the Rangers didn't play that well. I was really looking forward to seeing Alexis Lafreniere, obviously Canadian, Captain Canada last year, or maybe he wasn't the captain, but he was the best player, obviously. First overall pick. Rangers were lucky to get him with the ball drop there. Yep. And I thought that Zibanejad had a little bit of an off game because he had such a phenomenal season last year, an incredible season, just came out of nowhere. Mika Zibanejad. And you got Panarin there, Zibanejad now, Lafreniere. You got Chris Kreider still there, and Ryan Strome. I mean, these guys have a good cast of players. I thought that they would put up a little bit more of a fight against the Islanders, but like I said, man, the Islanders make good teams look bad because they just they play defense, man. They play a defensive game, and just like in NFL, defense wins championships most of the time. But they're going to be a hard team to beat, the Islanders, and it's going to be a cool. I like that whole division, man. That division's going to be fun to watch. But I think the Rangers will bounce back and have a little bit of a better game next time they're out. I think they learned a lot from that first game. And yeah, that's what I got to say about that one. What about you? What did you take from it?
I think just like you said, they're a great defensive team. They like to hit the counterattack on their opponent. It doesn't matter who's in goal for them. I feel like whoever's in goal, they get a guy at a good deal that might be washed up, or a team might think that he's going to be washed up. They bring him in, and then he has a renaissance. You look at Robin Lehner. They had him in a couple of years ago. He had one of his best seasons. Boom, he goes to Vegas, gets paid.
Yep.
Then you got Varlamov. He gets replaced by Grubauer. Boom, he goes to the Ironers, and now last year he had a decent year, and then now he's off to a really good year this year with a shutout. They just played to their strength. They got a really good defensive core right there. That's how they game planned when they got rid of Tavares. They're like, we might not score, but we'll have this game plan to be a defensive team. And then unsung hero on the team, Anders Lee, the past couple of years has played well. He got on the board right away yesterday, or no, the day before. It was him, Barzal, and I forget who had the third goal, but it was the usual suspects for them. You expect those two guys to score, and then to keep the other team to like maybe one, maybe two goals. But this time, 0. The Rangers never got anything going. The Islanders were always on the power play. It felt that's why Lafreniere didn't get anything going because he was barely on the ice half the
Yeah.
time.
First game in the NHL too, right? So,
And
but
then
hey, Anders Lee, man. I just got to say, I forgot about that name for a second there, but what a player that guy's turned out to be, man. He's always been a consistent guy the last 4 or 5 years, but I mean, he's big. He's a big presence on the ice, man. Like I don't know how tall or how heavy he is, but he definitely mixes it up, and he's got a lot of skill for a big player, and he has great shot, good net presence. And that just makes him even scarier, man. This Anders Lee, man. I'm glad that they gave him the captaincy. He looks like a good leader.
oh yeah, he definitely is, and then he definitely showed it last year. They needed that. They got a good core of youth and veterans. I thought it was really good for them that I didn't think that they're going to bring him back, but they waited late and then brought back a couple guys like Matt Martin. He was a late bring back in camp. They didn't sign him, but they got a good deal out of him. That whole team, they have good deals. You were just saying about Matthew Barzell's deal, how team friendly it was for
Yeah,
them, and then how it works out for them. I think he was looking to get paid, but then I think he thought, I'm in a good situation right now where I'm young, I'm on a team that can compete. Maybe I can wait and then get paid in a couple years. Like
yeah,
I could get paid now, but is it going to hurt the team? Or where am I going to go if the team doesn't want to pay me that? So I think he made the right decision with what I believe it was a 2-3 year deal. He's still getting
yeah.
paid. It's just not 10 million a year that he probably could have got. He will get,
Absolutely.
he will get that, and like when this deal's done. But this kind of helps out to maybe when he gets that deal that they have more pieces behind them of youth rather than the veterans. But I expect them to be in the playoffs. I actually surprisingly have them maybe as like a 2 or 3 seed.
Yeah,
I have them that high. Like they
yeah, man.
competed they competed well with not Toronto, with the Tampa Bay in the Eastern Finals. Tampa Bay won in 6, but it was a tough 6 games for them. They had to put a lot into winning those games. They weren't easy wins for Tampa Bay, and then I think the Islanders are going to be twice as better this year as they were last year with the experience of being that far into the playoffs. Because ever since they've had this core, I think it's been 3 straight years in the playoffs.
Yep,
They had this run last year. The year before, they shocked the Penguins and they swept them. Then they got to the second round and then lost. So it's been
yep.
like boom, boom. The next step for them now is thinking the Stanley Cup Finals. That's probably what's in their head right now. They got all the pieces back, and then they're looking for right there right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have a great season this year compared to last year where they kind of were middle of the road.
Yeah, dude, you got to hand it to Lou Lamoriello, Barry Trotz, man. Like what a duo that is. Lou Lamoriello's one of the most well-known, respected managers in the league, and he's done amazing things. I mean, look at that Barzell signing, like you said, man. I think he's making $7 million a year for 3 years. Like you just stated there, he is at least a $10 million
Yeah,
player. This is your franchise centerman. Him and Anders Lee are your $11 million players, 100%. And Lou found a way to swindle him in and say,
yep.
listen, blah blah blah. Probably sat down with him, gave him the straight veteran look, and said, "Oh, we'll give you this money." And Barzell was probably like, "Oh, okay, sure." Like I think that Barry Trotz is a great coach too. Won the cup with Washington, and ever since he's been the head coach of the Islanders, man, that's when they really turned into what they are now. And it's a threat. It is a threat. They're scary. I agree with you. I think that I think they could be a top 3 team in the friggin' Eastern Conference, bud. I think
Yeah.
so.
I don't want to say that,
Or yeah,
but
I don't want
yeah,
to say it either, dude. But I think I know, because then it looks weird for Philly and the Leafs, because
yeah.
Washington's still a team, Tampa's still a team, but they're definitely in the juggle. That's for sure.
And then talk about Barry Trotz. You had him in Nashville. His Nashville teams were known for that. I think he made it to the finals once there. I believe he was
Yep.
there when they did that. Then he goes to Washington. He wins a cup there with
Yep.
that group. He gets them over the hump there. And then you think, okay, he's going to the Ironers. Maybe he's done, because the Capitals had a team like that they had. They had a group
Yep.
there. And what does he do? He doesn't win, but he takes this team all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals against Tampa, and with the group. And then he has two different goalies in 2 different years, Lehner
Yep.
and then Varlamov. He just knows his system. He knows what players can do in it, and I think that's why at the end of the day they got rid of Tavares, not just because he wanted to go, but because they felt that they could get enough in return with
Yep.
what they were going to miss with money and then player wise. Because was it a trade or was it just a
No, it was a free agent pickup
agent?
from the Leafs.
But I
So,
believe,
but then again, you're not spending that $11 million like you just said, right?
and
So
who
now
did we
you
bring
have,
back?
all of a sudden you have this $11-12 million cap space that you can spend on other things to get your team better rounded, right? So
Yeah, and they
I
bring
mean,
in
yeah,
3 players. They bring in 3 players for that 11 million, and one of them was Anders Lee. They brung him in after Tavares went to Toronto. So it's like you didn't miss Tavares, but geez, you brought in Anders Lee, who has fit in well. And I forget the other 2 guys that they got in, but they basically all 3 of those guys at the time equaled the 11 million that you were going to pay Tavares to
yeah,
stay. So it's like all those production left, but then you changed your system, and then the players that you brought in bought into that system, and it worked out even better because now you're getting better bang for your buck right there.
yeah,
Whereas it would have been one player doing great compared to 3 guys that are fitting well into the system, doing just as good as a core group than just one guy. Kind of reminded me of Edmonton, where they have 2 studs, but as a group, they're not well rounded because they're kind of lacking in all other areas. The
yeah.
Islanders went the other route, and they're well rounded, but not one guy that is heads and toes a bit above the rest. You can see Barzell is,
Superstar.
yeah. He's not like a superstar, but he's probably going to be the breakout guy of the bunch
Yeah.
with how he's done. But
Yeah, I think you know what, Daniel, I'm pretty sure Anders Lee's been there for a while too, though, man. I think he's been an Islander. It's just because you didn't see the captaincy, right?
yeah,
But he was like, I think he was one of the main guys with Tavares. It was, if I remember correctly, it was Tavares, Anders Lee, Josh Bailey, and Brock Nelson. That was their top 4 guys back like 2-3 years ago, right?
yeah,
I think just with the Anders Lee thing, but anyways, you could be right too. I'm just obviously Philly fan, Leaf fan, so we pay attention as much as we can. And years back, it is what it is. But hey, man, like we were just saying, Barry Trotz, winning resume, bud. So Islanders are really happy to have him. And then Lou Lamoriello, obviously, all those years with Brodeur and net for New Jersey and the team that they had, man. So yeah, man. Who knows? They're a good team, and they're gonna be in the juggle for a Stanley Cup out of the East. I think they're definitely a top 5 team in the East. I'll give them that for sure.
yep. And we're going to move on right to the next game, which is Capitals and Sabres. The Capitals beat the Sabres 6-4. TJ Yoshi had a goal and 2 assists. Pierre Laviette's first win as Capitals bench boss. What did you take from this?
Man, Capitals are the Capitals, bud. You have them healthy. They're actually one of the scarier teams in the East, I think, still. I mean, you're talking about TJ Oshie still. You're talking about Kuznetsov, Backstrom, Ovechkin, Tom Wilson, Okay, you just added Zdeno Chara to scare the shit out of people around the net now. And then you have their young goalie Samsonov, who obviously the management and the team believes in to be a really good goalie. So, and then John Carlson in the back, who Ovechkin calls John Norris Carlson. So, I mean, Washington is a scary, scary team to me, man. They could do damage, and I mean that's basically what they did to the Sabres. Sabres are trying to rebound off another disappointing season. They've had the cast there to do good things. They're really hoping that this year they're turning a corner for a playoff position. Adding Taylor Hall in the offseason, you have Jack Eichel there now with Taylor Hall. You're hoping Jeff Skinner is gonna play the way of the money that they kind of gave him a couple years ago because he was hot with that goal streak. And then you add in your Ryan Harts and Dahlins and Ristolainens, and
Yep.
I mean, and then you have a good Buffalo Sabres team. So we'll see what happens with them. And I expected a little. I expected that game to go exactly the way that it turned out to be. 6-4 was what I thought it was going to be. A little bit of a high-scoring game. Two teams with top players that know how to bury the puck and have a lot of skill. So, yeah, man, that's all I got to say about that. Sabres, good luck in their division. And Capitals, I think Capitals are going to be, like I said, we just said the Islanders. I said maybe a top 3 to 5 team in the league out of the East, and Capitals are just right there with them, and they're definitely in that circle. So
Yeah, and then Ovechkin didn't have to do too much. Like he did have like a couple assists, but it was mostly TJ Yoshi being the one that was laying it up. They were able to add a couple, like you said, a couple pieces, like in Sedano Char, which was great for them. Is he paired with Carson on the back end, or are they split up? Because that'd be is it Chara and Carson? Are they?
I don't think so, man. But I don't take my word for it because I didn't watch much of that game.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure who the defensive pairing is for John Carlson. But I know one thing. I know that they're just going to utilize Chara especially for PK.
Yes.
And as maybe a bottom 3 pairing defenseman just because of his speed factor, right? But yeah.
And then for the Sabres, it's like another year, another New Jersey design, and then another year, another year where Eichel prospers and gets better, but then the team starts out hot and then burns down around mid-season. Like the past 2 years, they've been red hot.
That's how they start.
Yeah, then you're like, okay, they're going to make the playoffs this year. Then 6-game losing.
Yeah, they hit a wall.
They hit a wall. Skinner starts out hot. He hits a wall too. It's like, and then they wind up getting new coach and like new culture. It just like it makes you wonder, like what is happening around that mid-season mark that is making them go down. Are they just like starting out way too much energy and then they're burning themselves out, or do they not have enough core to keep it stabilized where the top guys are doing too much? But I wouldn't take too much out of this game because they're playing the Capitals. They were able to put 4 goals on the Capitals, which is pretty good. And then I believe they're losing right now 2-1 to Washington in a pretty close game. So
yeah.
I think they're going to take a lot out of this, and I think it's going to benefit them later on, knowing that they were able to play the Capitals right away and still put 4 goals on. They did give up 6, but I think in goal they're kind of weak at goalie, and they could use somebody better. So they could always make a trade later on, like if they're hovering around the playoff bubble, they can always make a trade there, and then it might put them over the top where they can make it into the playoffs. And whenever you're in the playoffs and you got a guy like Skinner or Eichel, I think you're looking pretty good because they're guys that produce. Like everybody forgets about Eichel in that draft because he wasn't first; he was second. but he's always improved each year on a mediocre to bad Buffalo Sabres team.
Yes.
And then he's forgotten about. But I've gravitated to him. I like his play. I like how
Yep.
he still gives it 110% no matter what. And
Hey, Daniel, and he went second overall after Connor McDavid.
yes,
So if McDavid wasn't in that draft, you knew that Jack Eichel was going to be a first overall pick, but he just happened to fall into one of the generations of hockey's best players ever. So, but yeah, no, you know what? As much as Toronto and Buffalo have a great rivalry because from Toronto to Buffalo, dude, it's a friggin' 2-hour drive. You know what I mean? It's right across the border. You're in Buffalo. You could watch the game. And there's always that nice rivalry between Matthews and Eichel, two top American centers going at it head to head. Who's better, Matthews or Eichel? So there's always that conversation. But I gotta say, dude, as a hockey guy, I think that Jack Eichel is it, man. He is a spectacular player. He seems like he's good in the dressing room. He's pretty light, but he has good leadership qualities. And his skill is just unbelievable, man. It's like he has like a big stick or something. The way he just maneuvers around people, and when he takes his shots, like it's just different, eh? Like his release is something else. It's like he chokes up on his stick a little higher than usual. Like when he takes a one timer, when anyone takes a one timer, usually your stick is about halfway down or a little less than half closer to the blade. But it's almost like he takes his one timers and his bottom hand is only like a half a foot away from his top hand, right? It's just such a weird looking thing, but his shot is lethal, dude. So no, I like Jack Eichel, and I do hope that Buffalo has a good season and bounces back in a positive way this year, because it's always nice as a Toronto fan to have that rivalry at its peak and resurface all the Buffalo meetings that we've had over the years. So
yeah, I give him a year or two before I see more out of him. But before I move on to the next game, I wanted to get your opinion on that hit. I believe it was Dowd had on Stahl, where it basically knocked him out of the game. It was right in the center of the ice. All you see is them skiing up, and all you see is it looked like an elbow to the Stahl's back of his head, and he fell right to the ground. They called a penalty on him, and then you see Ristolainen, I think, grapple up with the Dowd and then somebody else. And then I believe they said that there won't be any suspension or penalty on it, but it looked, I wouldn't say it looked bad, but it looked like he definitely was trying to hit him in the head. I wanted to get your opinion on that before we move on to the next game.
I'll be totally honest with you, Daniel. I actually didn't see that hit, so I didn't get to see the highlight of that hit. But I mean, you obviously seen it, so if you have any more, if you want to reflect on it, and what's your opinion on it?
Well, when I saw that, like I heard about it, then I'm like, let me watch the clip. So like by today, I watched the clip, and you see it. You kind of see a slow motion of Dowd coming up with the skate, because Stahl was going in slow. He was going in, coming away. All I see is boom, and it looked like kind of nonchalant, but then it's like, even if you're doing it nonchalant, when you reach out your elbow like this and you hit a guy in the head, it's like you're intentionally doing it. And that's why Ristolainen, I think he wound up getting a penalty too for instigating afterwards with Dowd. But it's like right away when you hit a guy, and then the next thing you know is everybody else is getting into a scrum because of it. And then Stahl automatically goes, he didn't go to the bench, he went right to the locker room. He went right to get looked at because he got hit hard. Like it wasn't like full skate, but it's like elbow right to the head, back of the head, and he fell down right away. I thought that was cheap. I thought maybe he should have got a game or two suspension because it looked intentional, but apparently they didn't do that. I thought that was a wrong call for that move because it looked intentional, but who am I? But
is the league reviewing it? Do you know, or like is he having a hearing, or have you heard any more talk about it?
From what I heard, I'll actually try and bring it up right now. because they were just talking about it. They said
Yeah,
that
as
they
soon as you
ruled
as in hockey, man, it's you drop the shoulder and that's it.
he
Even
won't.
when you hit someone in the head with your shoulder now, they'll call it like a
Yeah,
headshot. So as soon as you elevate your arm or elbow, then even if it's not intentional, you're still in the act of doing it. So you're
yeah.
gonna get called for it every time. And I'd have to see it, the play, right? So
Yeah, they said that they won't be suspended him. The league had just
okay.
came out and said that, which is weird. Maybe they think that it was unintentional, or they took his word for it being the first game, and then because they weren't going too fast. But it's like if a guy gets knocked down because of it, it's not because of an intentional, like a shoulder. It looks like he goes like this, but it is what it is.
You
Moving
know
on,
what's good, Daniel, is they'll be facing each other a ton more times. So we'll see what happens
retaliation.
next time. There's going to be targets painted on certain players' backs, that's for sure.
I'll be interested to see what happens tonight because they're playing right now. Like I said,
Okay.
the back to back. So I'll be interested to see if anything happens in that game. But moving on to a game that went into a shootout, you had the Bruins against the Devils. The Bruins win this game 3-2 in the shootout. You had Brad Marchand with the goal and assist plus the shootout winner, and then Lindy Ruff loses debut as Devils coach. What do you see about this game?
Um, I watched a bit of that game. Listen, man, I think this is the year of the decline for Boston. The Devils still don't have a good roster together, man. I mean, I don't know what they're doing, man. They have the young kid there, Hughes, who they drafted there. As he was one of their top picks there in the last few years. He was either a first overall or second 2 years ago, right?
Yes.
Jack Hughes, and he's still trying to figure it out a little bit. He's coming along, but they have the Blackwood guy. I mean, the New Jersey Devils are just kind of they're in the background still. There are a lot of background noise in the NHL. They're still considered one of the worst teams. They have a lot of work to do. PK Subban and the Woods guy that they have on their team got into a scrap in practice recently. So obviously there's some internal stuff going on in the dressing room and negativity. I don't know, man. You need a winning culture if you're going to win hockey games, and I don't know if New Jersey has that yet. They're trying to find a way to build for that. As far as the Bruins, I'll just elaborate on what I just said there. I think they're on the decline because they lost Torrey Krug, they lost Zdeno Chara. Bergeron's getting older. I know he's still young, 34 or whatever the heck he is there. You got to see this year. Still a great 200-foot center, Selke Award-winning kind of player, good captain material. Marchand still plays the pesty role, gets under skin, but puts up 100 points in an 82-game season. Pasternak's injured. I mean, they're going to rely on Marchand and Bergeron. That's the bottom line. DeBrusk, decent player, still not a top player, though, in my books. And then David Krejci's getting older, too. He's falling off. And Tuukka Rask, I mean, how much longer does he have to be a relevant goalie in the league? Obviously left the bubble, had some personal issues that didn't sit well with Bruins fans, no matter what he comes out and says. So people do feel a little sentimental about him and his family issues about whatever the heck happened there. But they still remember, Boston having the best Eastern percentage winning rate in the league last year, and then all of a sudden you lose your number one goalie, and you had a chance to hoist another cup, and you didn't. So Boston to me is, I mean, unless David Pastrnak, he's out for the year already. So that's a big blow to them because I'm a big fan of Pastrnak. It's the only Boston Bruin I like because I just find him fascinating on and off the ice. Very cool dude and a very skilled player. But yeah, Boston's gonna have some trouble this year, man. I just have that feeling that it's the decline year for them. I
Yep.
still think they're gonna I still think they're going to push for playoffs and maybe even make playoffs, but it's not going to be by a wide margin. To me, I think they'll just get in.
Yeah, they'll be a fringe team, and then anytime in the off season you lose Chara and Krug, two of the best guys on the back end, that's gonna kill you. And
Yeah,
no matter what, and then just like you said, on top of that, you lose your top point scorer and pass track
yeah,
right away, and that's what's gonna happen. But I see more out of them being like a fringe playoff team compared to the Devils, who I see as like a bottom draw. I think they're the only
yeah,
team in that loaded division that didn't make the playoffs last year, for a
yeah.
reason. They just don't have it right now. Like
No,
you're not getting everything out of Nico Hischier. They didn't get Hughes had an okay season, but you're not getting the most out of him. Was it Blackwood is in goal? I believe
yeah.
that's his last name. He did okay, but you weren't bringing in Corey Crawford to sit on the bench. You weren't doing that.
Exactly. You were bringing it in to make some noise with something.
Yes.
Just quickly, spider web off that, dude. I mean, I feel for the New Jersey Devils because they brought in Corey Snyder there from Vancouver, like whatever it was, like 6 years ago or 5 years ago, whenever it was, when Luongo and Snyder were still in Vancouver.
Yep.
And they really thought that Snyder was going to be their number one and solidify that spot for them for a long time. They're used to Martin Brodeur kind of running the show there for 20 years and winning Stanley Cups and having a consistent goaltending and defense. And then all of a sudden, Schneider had maybe one decent season with them, came back the next year after that, and then they started to see his true colors, man. This guy wasn't the hype that he looked to be. So I feel for the man. The goalie situation is weird. Hopefully Mackenzie Blackwood, I think it is. I think he's a decent goalie, but the cast around him they're in trouble, dude.
Yep. Definitely agree. And then I'm gonna do one more game before we go into one of our other videos. But the game that we're gonna get into before that is the Hurricanes and the Red Wings. The Hurricanes beat the Red Wings 3-0. Mrazek records shutout, facing only 14 shots against. What did you take from this game?
Well, I'm pretty sure Peter Mrazek was jumping for joy and having a good time because he was the previous Red Wings goalie there. He's went through all the crap as a Red Wings goalie. He was battling it out with like Howard for a little bit. Peter Mrazek. Finally, Peter Mrazek goes to a team in the Hurricanes, McElhinney, Mrazek, or whoever they have there now. But Hurricanes, dude. My comparison to the Hurricanes is the New York Islanders. This is a team that fights for every puck. They play a good defensive game. They're not the most talented team in the world, but they just have a 100% driven, bought in team with their system. And they have like their Sveshnikovs and their Teravainens and Ahos there that are going to carry them for the skilled part of their game. But I really like their roster, man. Like they've done some incredible things the last few years. Obviously, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years ago, and nobody's seen that happening. And then they got beat out, obviously. And I think the Hurricanes are going to be a juggernaut in the league this year. I still think they're a really, really good team. They're a heavy team, and they're splitting goalie duos right now. As far as the Red Wings, just named Dylan Larkin the captain. Good for him. Happy for him. Eyes have been on him for a long time. You're taking over, like we were talking before. After Zetterberg and Datsuk left, you had Thomas Tatar, and then you had Gustav Nyquist. Those were the two guys that were supposed to come into the Red Wings franchise and kind of take over a Datsuk and Zetterberg, but everyone knew you don't take over a Datsuk and Zetterberg. Those days were done, and they tried, and both those players are not even on that team anymore. And you bring in this Dylan Larkin, next best player, who is Bertuzzi there. So, I mean, they got a lot of work to do, man. The Red Wings are an original six team, man. Anytime, Daniel, I always want an original six team to do well, man, just because they have so much history and their fan base is always great. And then on top of that, I mean, Detroit as a city in general has just had their friggin' issues for so long now, like a decade. And winning culture is what they want. Detroit Lions, NFL, like Detroit Pistons. You know what I mean? And then now the Detroit Red Wings. I think that they're building towards something. At least I think they're on the second year of their rebuild. But I'm with you and the New Jersey Devils. I think they're just a kind of a bottom feeder team right now that are going to play hard every night and look towards the future and draft picks and developing their young players. So.
Yeah, and then of course, it's so weird seeing the Red Wings in a building not where they used to play. They're in that weird building where it's built down into the ground within the bowl. Like
yeah, they were used to be the Joe Louis Arena, and now they're the Little Caesars Arena, right? So switched it all up, man.
I like the concept where the bowl would actually play is under the sea level or whatever it's called. It's right under there. And then because you go in, I like how it's built where you go into the arena and then you go in and then you go down. It's like in a hole.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, because it's one row there, and then on above the ground level is the second row, and then everything there, and then they kind of have everything concession wise on the side. I thought that was pretty cool. Like, at least if you're going to go away from Joe Louis Arena, you're going to be a little unique with where you play and how you do everything, have it differently, because Joe Louis Arena in itself was different in itself. So you kept that aura there, but it's going to take a little bit to rebuild because they lost everybody. They traded away people, and then drafting has taken a little bit longer than expected. But they have promise. I know last year they drafted that German guy who was supposed to be pretty good. They said it's going to take time for him. And then, like you said, Dylan Larkin was named the captain. They've had the same goalies there for the past couple of years. I think soon that they're going to need to have a fresh new face there, a young guy, to bring him into the new age of the Red Wings, because now they're the bottom draw. They're one of the worst teams. They're not going to be up there for a few years. So by the time that they get to that point, I feel like they're going to have a good team as long as they can draft well. But getting away from that, because we know they're going to be bad. Right before we get into the last few games on the slate, we're going to break into the Buzz schedule for the week, and we're going to play the promo for that. So here that is. Enjoy that, and then we'll come back with the last few games.
War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them I'm ready, any opponent. The crown heavy and every minute is chosen. A path only fit for kings, and you don't know what this court means. What did you enlist for? If it isn't getting more rings, then you gon' have to switch your team. Trust me, it gets more mean. I'm a nightmare going up against your dreams. First step is explosive like a bomb hit. Bet if I let it fly, I cannot miss. And you ain't got a chance at the top 10 when you getting clamped all night by your locksmith. On the block throwing lobs for my top bigs. I'm chef, no look, what's the top dish? Tie game, through the pressure as the clock ticks. Crossover, step back, hit a shot, swish. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. This is how champions are made, but it never happens in a day. It's all hard work, but it's why what happens when we play 9 out of 10 times. I'ma left you.
And we're back. Just like you saw in there, you can catch us almost every day with the 1 or 2 podcasts a day. We cover almost everything on the sports line. And we're going to continue with the rest of the games that we have on the slate. The next game that we have right now is the Blue Jackets against the Predators. We had the Predators win this game 3-1. Philip Forsberg had 1 goal, which wound up being the game winner. What did you take from this game?
Yeah, not much to say. I watched a bit of this game actually, and I don't have a lot to say about it. But what I do have to say about it was, I like Philip Forsberg. I always have. Nashville still this hot juggernaut of a team, especially defensively. Ryan Ellis, Ekholm, Yossi, they're there, and their top 4 defense is still one of the best in the league. As far as their forwards go, I like what they got going on there. They still have Duchesne there. They have who's is it Arvidsson on
Yes.
Nashville, or is that Arvidsson plays for Nashville, right?
I believe so. I believe he's.
I think he does, but anyways, you have this cast, and Philip Forsberg is a phenomenal player. He's very underrated. He made some noise in the NHL a few years ago. People took notice. I think in the last year or year and a half, it's been a little quiet on his on the player that he is. But I think you've seen it yesterday. This guy is a friggin' player, man. He's one of the better players in the league. And he's the best offensive player that they have. So they're going to ride him for the offensive part of the game. And they still have a good supporting cast there as their top 6 that are going to do damage. But they're built on defense, right? Nashville is a defensive team. They always have been. Even before this, they had Suter and Shea Weber there, and they carried defense for a long time. That's like when you were talking about earlier, Daniel, when they did go on that run with Barry Trotz. And Nashville can do damage at any time, and they still have a good, strong team. Blue Jackets, we've already got into the Blue Jackets a bit, so not much to say about that. I think it all depends on where PLD goes, and that's Pierre-Luc Dubois. Whatever happens with that guy, if they lose him, then Columbus is going to have a lot of trouble up front. Defensive part of the game, they're still pretty good. Seth Jones, Werenski's back there as their top 2, and they are studs. But as far as their forward talent, Max Domi pulled 6 minutes left in the game by Torts recently, and then on top of that, you lose Josh Anderson, who was an absolute beast up front for you, just a power forward. And then Dubinsky's just been on injured reserve for a while, and I don't even know if he'll be the same when he comes back, but he's a feisty guy that gets points. You're going to depend on Foligno. Foligno is getting up there too. Foligno's like about 34, 35 maybe now. He's the captain, and he's a great player. He's definitely a captain type of leader. But like I said, dude, it all depends on where Pierre-Luc Dubois goes, because if he stays, Columbus has a chance. If he goes, Columbus, you can't rely on Foligno and Cam Atkinson to carry that load. There's just no way. You need at least another guy that's going to bury the puck. It is what it is, man. Nashville won that game 3-1, and good on them. Nashville still has a good team. Columbus, they beat out the Leafs last year. I may be a little bitter about that, but as I stated, we'll see what happens with them within the week.
Yep, and just like I said, we basically went into to Columbus earlier, and then we know what Nashville is. They're going to be a defensive team with a pretty good goalie in net, and then they're like the other side of the Ironers. They play a similar style, and I expect them to be within that playoff range. If they're not locked to make the playoffs, which I think they are, they're going to be up there. And then that's really all I got to say about that game. Yeah. So I'm going to move on to the next one, which is the Winnipeg Jets and the Calgary Flames. This was the Jets winning 4-3 in overtime. And you had missed out. Patrick Laine had 2 goals, 1 assist, including overtime winner, missing out on Gordie Howe's hat trick after a small scuffle. And then one point that I wanted to make before I go right to you is I didn't catch the game, but I read about it, and then they made a point to say that the Calgary Flames only got 15 shots on goal, even though they had three goals. They only had 15 shots on net, and they made a point to say that because last year the Jets had a problem with giving up too many shots on goal, which they were the bottom of the league in all three categories. Having to do with that, they gave up too many shots, too many goals.
Well, they're lucky they had Connor Hellebuck then, that's for sure.
And they said that they're going to question how well that this new unit does on the back end with the 5-6 guys that they have on there. But they're off to a better start this season. Even though they gave up 3 goals, they've only given up 15 shots. So they must have been doing something good to where they didn't give up too many shots on Hellebuck. So it was like you did give up 3 goals, but you didn't. It wasn't like you had to give up 30 plus shots in the same time. I wanted to get your input on this game.
Yeah. So the Jets obviously going into this season, the storylines, the headlines has been all about Patrick Laine. Patrick Laine. Is he going to be traded? Does he fit in with the Jets? Does he want out of the Jets? Is he cocky? Is he arrogant? What's going on with Patrick Laine? Is he a good dressing room guy? I think Patrick Laine came into this game and made a statement. He played well. The guy's got a lot of talent. The only thing with Patrick Laine that I've thought about his weakness would be is just his back check and defensive part of the game.
Yes.
He doesn't like to get back a lot, but once he gets the puck, he likes to go with it, make a good pass. He has one of the better shots of the league. But that being said, Patrick Laine came out and had himself a friggin' game, man. Like you said, 2 goals, 1 assist, the game winner, I think. Right?
Yes.
And dude, he goes in. Who gets Kyle Connor gets dumped in the corner, right? A little bit of a dirty play, I get it. He fell over pretty good. It wasn't like he shoved him as hard as he could. He kind of gave him the business, and he went in head first, which, it's a hockey play. It happens. But Patrick Laine to step in and kind of face wash someone, gets his helmet ripped off a little bit, mixes it up with Matthew Tkachuk a little bit, gets into their grill. It shows the fight in him. It shows, I think the Winnipeg Jets were really looking for that. The fans were looking for that out of him. And I think he delivered. I think he wants to, hopefully the guy wants to stay and be a Jet. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I don't know if that game really changes anything from the buildup that's been happening the last few years in the locker room or for the franchise. But Laine had a good game. As far as the other players, they were on the board too. Obviously, their better players were on the board with the Shifleys, Kyle Connor, Ehlers, players like that, right? So, hey man, they got a good team there. The Jets have Connor Hellebuck in net. Obviously, they have a lot of new defense. Dustin Byfuglien kind of threw them to the wolves a little bit just on the defensive part of their game. Obviously retired or went on injured reserve, whatever that, held out, never showed up to training camp last year. So there's still the story there. And then Jacob Trouba was there, one of their better guys, didn't want to be there. They would love to have held on to him. Now they rely on Morrissey, who is probably their best defenseman there. And that being said, the Jets, Ehlers, Connor, Scheifele, Wheeler, Laine, they are still a heavy team, man. I think Tanev went there, or am I mistaken? I don't know, but they're still a heavy team, and they can do damage as long as defensively they can hang on. They're always going to be a threat. If Patrick Laine plays the way he played last night, that's the biggest question for the NHL and for Jets fans. Is Patrick Laine going to be consistent? Patrick Laine starts off the season, bam, he has friggin' 15 goals in 20 games. And you're like, what the hell? This guy's going to score 80 goals this year. All of a sudden, he doesn't score for 10 games. Then he scores a goal. Then he scores 2 goals. Then he doesn't score for inconsistent, man. And it's bad because he's a definition of hot and cold. And you can't have that in your best goal scorer on the team. He went second overall for a reason. He was compared to Austin Matthews for the first year or two. Like, oh, Laine or Matthews, Laine or Matthews. Obviously, that conversation has been buried because Matthews is obviously so far the better player and more consistent player and better 200-foot player at center. And well, he's a centerman, Laine is a winger, but I think the Jets season really is going to fall, Daniel, on what Patrik Laine does for them, man. Because all the other components, like I said, hopefully the defense comes through. Like you just stated, they held Calgary to that many shots, which is a big turnaround for them. That's a very positive thing. But Patrik Laine needs to be as advertised. He needs to be Patrik Laine. He in 56 games, Jets fans should expect him to score 30, 35 goals. You know what I mean? And that's really going to elevate their chances of doing something in this Canadian division. So good for them. I'll just touch base with Calgary because Calgary's kind of the same team to me. With the exception of losing TJ Brody to the Leafs, Calgary's Calgary, man. You hope that Sean Money Monahan shows up, Goudreau shows up, has a better year than he had. Matthew Tkachuk is obviously they're saying that when Giordano is gone from that team, they're saying that he might be the captain of that team just because of the way he is and how he carries himself and sticks up for everyone. Obviously, he has the skill and the talent. And then their goalie situation with getting who did they Calgary picked up who? They got someone. I'm trying to think now. Markstrom.
That's who it is, yes.
They picked up Jacob Markstrom. So a better goalie situation for them. And they still have a decent defense. And their forwards, as long as they show up and they play, they're a really good team. I have Calgary as one of my top 4 teams in the Canadian division, to be honest. So we'll see what happens, man. But that's my take on that game. I mean, on those two teams anyway. As for the game, first game of the season, new Canadian division. Patrik Laine kind of stole the storyline and the headline of the game. And I can't wait for them to face off again against each other because I know that the battles, there's just going to be more blood and there's going to be, there's definitely, I can't wait for the rivalry that's going to ensue between these guys, man, especially just with, you know, Laine talking crap to Matthew Tkachuk and the other guys there. It sparks something, and I can't wait. It's going to be a good rivalry.
Oh yeah, I agree. And then especially since they played each other in the playoffs last year, where I think Laine got hurt in the first game. Him, Scheifele, you had 2 of your key
unfortunately,
guys. Yeah. And then it was put too much pressure on Kyle Connors at that time.
And he was playing lights out too at that time, right? But you can't carry the whole load of a team on one guy. That's not. Kyle Connor is a great player. He could even be considered a star of the league, but he ain't a superstar. He's not going to carry the whole team on his shoulder. That's for sure.
No, but if you take the team last year, you had Laine not play well. You had a bad defensive core who gave up so many shots in front of Hellbuck, and you're still able to be a playoff team. Yeah, and basically, I think they finished in the top 3 or 4 on the standings going into the playoffs, and you had that. And then to come into here and have Laine score 2 goals right away, and then have the defensive core give up half as many shots that they're used to giving up. They don't have to do this every game.
Yep.
If they can cut from being 30th in the league in goals, in goals against, and then shots against, and then even cut that to just 20th, they'll have a big difference on that team, and they could improve on that because they have the offense to score with the guys that you said on top of Laine. And then if he picks it up, that could be a difference between being a 4 or 5 seed to like a 1 or 2 seed. Like
absolutely.
I really do think that they're as good as that if their defense can be improved this year. I think that they have that. That's the ceiling for them, that they could be like a number 2 seed in the West. And
Dude,
then,
their top 6 forwards are as good as anyone else in the league when they're playing good, for sure.
yeah, but that's where I see that. And then I'm gonna move on to the next game. I'm not gonna go too much into it because it's them playing again. I'm just gonna touch base on it for a second. But you have the second game between the Canucks and the Oilers, as you stated before. The Oilers picked it up and won 5-2. You had a hat trick and an assist by McDavid. And then Leon and Draisaitl had 4 assists, and then you had 2 goals and assist from Nugent Hopkins. It's what you expect from the Oilers. One game they play bad, then the next game, boom, he gets 3 goals, he gets 2 goals, and they put a 5 spot on you and they win without even having to have a great game from the rest of the crew. That's just how they're going to be. We won't go too into it because we both think that they're going to be so-so. We don't think that they're going to make the playoffs, but I expected this out of them after their first game, and then the Canucks, it was a clunker. They won the first game, so both teams are 1-1 now. And then I'll just go right into the next game, which was the Coyotes and the Sharks. The Coyotes won this 4-3 in a shootout. Tomas Hertl had 2 goals and assists, and Evander Kane had a goal and assist. What did you take from this?
Happy for Evander Kane to bounce back after all the negativity and animosity going on in his life right now. So it's cool for him. I mean, San Jose, man, you're looking at a team that you got Thomas Hertl there, who they're going to rely on heavily. Thomas Hertl, Couture, and Evander Kane. That's really what they got going for them, man. So they're at the bottom of the Shark Tank, and they're almost at rebuild land. So, I mean, you got Carlson and Brent Burns on the back end, and Jones in net. Decent goalie, hasn't had the greatest few years, but he doesn't have the supporting cast to really give him a chance anymore. They're not the same Sharks team that they were a few years ago. And it is what it is, man. Sharks are the Sharks. I think that they're almost in rebuild land, as I just stated. Coyotes, man, this franchise is just one of the more intriguing and weird franchises. I don't know, man. Arizona Coyotes, Phil Kessel, Clayton Keller, Dvorak. I mean, those are your guys.
Garland.
Outside of that, who?
Garland. He had a nice first game with that nice pass to Keller.
Yeah, man. So Arizona's in a weird place just because I feel like they've been rebuilding that team for years. Like, it's been such a long time, and I don't know what they got to do, if they got to mix up management and get someone new in there. I know that there's been talks about the Arizona Coyotes folding recently and all this stuff going on in that franchise. But it's unfortunate, man, because I really like the Arizona Coyotes. They're that cool team, you know. They're the desert team, and I think their new retro jersey is really cool. But I also like the cool, like, abstract one they have with the half the skull bone and whatever the one that they're wearing now. And but outside of that, man, they got a lot of holes to fill in that team still, man. Like, a lot of holes. I mean, Darcy Kemper's a decent goalie too, and like, their defense just. OEL, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, I mean, he was supposed to be traded out of there recently, like a year ago. Like, there was a lot of trade rumors, like they didn't even want him anymore. So I don't know what the hell is going on there. But, I mean, are they on a rebuild schedule now too? Like, if they finish last place, you got to start tearing that team up. You got to keep maybe a couple guys that like a Clayton Keller maybe. Phil Kessel's like 36 now too. Right? Or 35 or 36. He's not the same, even though he had himself a game last night, scored 2 goals or whatever it was. But yeah, Arizona has a lot of Arizona and San Jose Sharks, bud. 2 teams that are kind of in the same boat and playing in the same baseball field. and they're gonna be bottom feeders, bottom 5 in the league for each in the Western Conference, I think. So we'll see. They're going to be one of those teams that just plays hard against the better teams just to try to get a rise out of them and show. But if I was them, I mean, they're going to be looking at high draft picks in the next year or two for sure.
Yeah. I think they took their shot last year. They brought in Taylor Hall with Kessel. They did win
Galchenyuk was there, right? They were trying to mix it up.
Yeah, they won one series, and then I think they got eliminated by was it Vancouver, or I think it might have been Vancouver who eliminated them in the second round. I would have to go look at that, but they let Taylor Hall go, and that they have a lot of young pieces, which is crazy to think, but with the pieces that are old enough, like they're the go-to guys, like Phil Kessel, they let Taylor Hall go. Those were guys that were scoring for them. Like they have Keller, they have Garland, but those guys haven't produced like they should be. They've been good role players pieces, but when you draft them in the first round to be the next guy, and then they only put up 40 points on the year, because I feel like that's the Coyotes' way right now. Is they don't put up many points. They play more of a defensive game without being defensive.
They got a weird system going on in Arizona, but I can't really even put my finger on it. I can't explain it, but they definitely need changes to happen like now.
Yeah. I feel if they start losing too much this year, or not, I think you're going to see them go sell and get a head start on it. But if they win, I could see them trying to make moves at certain points and trying to get guys off teams that are losing, and then they might jump into the playoff route and be like that 6 or 7 seed that just makes it, and then could like if they have the right matchup, they could pull off a shocker where they can make it to the next round. But I don't see anything more than that. I see that's their ceiling, and I feel like after that, it'll be the same thing next year until they decide we're gonna go into rebuild, and then we'll keep like the Kellers and the Garlands, and then we'll build around them, and then maybe try and bring in a very good young player that could be the face that can get that 30-40 goals that they're missing, and then maybe they can go from there.
Yeah, but, they were. I mean, the face of that franchise is obviously Oliver Ekman-Larsson. They gave him the captaincy. It's nice to have a solid defenseman as your captain and everything. Clayton Keller, I mean, kid's got talent, kid's got skill, but he's really tiny, and he's not going to go into a corner and mix it up, win every puck battle like your number one center should go do every shift, right? So they got a lot of work to do. They have a good supporting cast. They have a good they have a core. I think they're missing about 1 or 2 pieces from that core though, and then some from the supporting cast. I mean, dude, they got a lot of work to do, bottom line. I mean, I can't that's my take on it.
I think the first move they need to make is get a playmaker that can set up Clayton Keller. He could use a playmaker that'll get him going. Like he can score, like he's shown it, but he needs a guy that can put him into position to get that goal. Like he's not a guy that will just do it himself. Some guys, that's just what it is. So that if they have the guy that can set him up, boom, they're great. Like Draisaitl, he is great, but he came out of nowhere once Yamamoto was put on a line with him. Like he went from I forget how he did, but he was a so guy, and then all of a sudden, boom, 110-point guy. Now that he has a guy set him up on the side, because it makes life easier for him.
Well, you know what? The only thing is, Daniel, with Draisaitl, don't get me wrong, I think Draisaitl is a fantastic player. He's a top, obviously right now, he's a top 5 in points in the league the last few years. But he's also playing a lot of time with McDavid. Sometimes he plays on his line, but he's playing on that first power play unit with McDavid, man. And McDavid is just magic. So, I mean, you're playing with a player like that, you're gonna score a lot of points. You know what I mean? So, true colors. If I'd like to see what Draisaitl will look like without McDavid too, but I know he would be he would be a point per game player for sure. But that being said, just Arizona, man. You need Clayton Keller. You need a better. You need a duo. You need someone that's going to help him out. You had Marner and Matthews. Now you got Tavares, Nylander, Marner, Matthews. I mean, that's just a double threat. And I mean, Dvorak and Keller and Kessel. Dvorak and Keller are good players. Kessel's a good player, but they need something else going on, dude. They need a better system. They need a better coaching staff, I think, and just management alone. They need to draft and put a better team together on the ice, man.
Yeah, how would you feel if Pierre-Luc Dubois got traded there?
Oh my goodness! Well, that would definitely elevate the team's hopes for doing a bit of damage. I mean, Dubois is a hell of a player, man. Maybe that's something in the works. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, like that just popped in my head. Like, boom! Like, what if they were a team that was like, we're missing something like this? Let's go call Columbus and be like, what do you guys want for Pierre-Luc Dubois? And if they were like, if like, it wouldn't happen. But what if they're like, if you give us Phil Kessel and then something else, we'll do that. And then Phoenix is like, yeah, like it's Phil Kessel, but you take his contract and we'll take the younger player. We're going to rebuild probably anyway. We'll do that. Like it won't ever happen, but say something like that. If I was in Arizona, I'd be like, you don't even have to get the whole sentence out. We accept,
Yeah.
Because of the player that he could be for them. And he could be that playmaker because he's already good, but he could be the guy that lights a fire under Keller and then anybody on that team. But they I feel like they're definitely in need of change, whether it's you just bring in new players behind those two core guys, or if you bring in a new management. You don't know because of the shakeup that they had, but they definitely need something because they're at the highest. They're at that fringe playoff spot, like that they can get to. You want when you're a team, when you're in that limbo, you want to shoot for the stars, not right here for ground level. You don't want to be up here, or if you're not going to be up there, you want to be down there to kind of replenish your system and then to bring in players so that you can eventually be up there. And I think they're just stuck in the middle where they've always been at, I feel like forever. Like they've never been higher than that. And I think that, like, I don't know if it's because they're in a bad market being in the West, in the, I call it the Wild West, because they're in the desert, or because you don't got much town out there where everywhere, the hot spots, Canada, you can get the players from. Even you find some players here and there on the West Coast, but like in the desert, you got nobody. And then it seems like they've been stuck there forever. But I don't want to waste too much time on a team like the Coyotes when we could get to the next game with the team that's going to be really up there. Like,
you know what, Daniel? I actually got to get out of here in the next, probably in the next couple minutes here. So I'm going to have to. You can continue on, but I gotta get out of here. I got some things I got to do.
How about I do this? I'll just run through the scores and then we'll get you right out here.
Sounds good, dude.
We got the Golden Knights. Of course, they beat the Ducks 5-2 in Petrangio's first game. He got an assist there, as expected, that they were going to win because they're a title contender to me. Then you got the Wild beating the Kings 4-3 in overtime with Kirill Kaprizov with a goal and 2 assists in his debut.
Beautiful.
And then that's the last game. And then basically this was your lineup tonight: Penguins, Flyers, Blackhawks, Lightning, Leafs versus Senators, Capitals, Sabres, and Blues Avalanche. So right now we're into the thick of things, and we've had a good couple of games, days of the season. I'm happy that NHL's back. I know you're happy that NHL's back, but before I wrap things up, I just would like to say thanks for having me on to cover for Archie. I know he's trying to get better. He should be back next week, better than ever. And then I just want to wish you a good night.
Daniel, it was great having you on the show, man. I had a blast talking hockey with you, buddy. It's always fun talking to your brother across borders about hockey and getting your perspective on things. And really glad to have you on the show, dude. And hopefully we can see you on the show in the future, dude, too, Ben. But hockey is back. Everyone, we're excited. Get excited, and it's just another thing to. During this quarantine and lockdown and COVID-19 and all this, just another thing to look forward to in the nighttime, and get positivity from, because obviously we're passionate about hockey and we love it. So whatever elevates the spirits in these hard times, everyone stay safe from COVID-19. Make sure you wash your hands, wear gloves when you can, stay 6 feet away, social distance, physical distance, all that jazz. You've heard it on the news. But again, thanks, Daniel, for getting on the show here. And I'm out. Have a good night, everyone. Have a good weekend. It is Friday, TGIF, and we'll talk soon, guys. Enjoy hockey.
Yep. And just like I said before, you enjoy your weekend, and then hopefully we'll see a better game the next time around out of your lease.
Sounds good, dude.
Yep.
Take care.
You too. See ya.
Bye.
And then before I get ready to go, I'm just going to play the last video that we got for our social media. As you know, we are the Buzz. And here's the video before I go into the review with that.
Get the Lambo car, house in the hills with the stars. Told you I'd raise the bar, told you that I'd go far. Baby, it's crystal clear. I'm not a souvenir. I'm not an accessory, I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now. I'm a necessity, so come and check me out now.
We are the Buzz. You can find us on all social medias, on YouTube, Facebook, and even Twitter under WTB that's DOT.com. And then just follow us, subscribe to our pages. We're here for the long haul. We cover everything from sports to entertainment. We thank you guys for supporting us. And then that's the end of the show tonight for Between the Pipes. My name is Dan. I had Wade on, and then look forward to seeing Archie back in his rightful spot next week. Have a nice night, guys.